the maximum level expert. She thrives in interstellar riches. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 726, Return to the Storage Center 3. Do you want to hand them over to the federal headquarters? Zhu Wangming's first reaction was that Wen Jiu was unwilling to take care of this batch of stray animals, so he thought it would be better to let the federal headquarters take over this mess. He didn't mean anything else, mainly because if these stray animals were confirmed as experimental subjects, it would be a big trouble. Let's not talk about anything else for now, just the treatment fee. He knew that this stray animal shelter was opened by Wen Jiu, so the treatment fee for the stray animals must be paid by him. Although Wen Jiu earned a lot of star coins through various channels, he was essentially a money grubber who saved as much as he could. Ordinary stray animals don't need too many star coins to treat them when they are sick, but this batch of stray animals is different. If you want to treat them, you don't know how many star coins it will cost. It's simply a bottomless pit. Based on his understanding of Wen Jiu, the other party must be reluctant to spend extra star coins to treat these stray animals for free. However, he soon found out that he was wrong, and he was wrong. Hasn't the federal headquarters convicted the 3rd and 5th military districts yet? I heard that it's because the 3rd Military District Research Institute destroyed all the experimental products. In that case, I might as well help them. Give me the results after you get them, and then I'll find someone I know to pass them on to the federal headquarters. If they are willing to send someone to take over, that would be the best. If not, that's fine. I still have enough money in my pocket. Wen Jiu didn't mean to abandon this group of stray animals, but she wasn't some foolish, rich, and philanthropic person. She did this, on the one hand, to test the situation at the federal headquarters, and on the other hand, to investigate the original owner. To be more precise, it was about her and the original owner. She and the original owner are now inseparable, and this is a fact that she can't deny, even if she wants to. Hearing this, Zikingai on the side calmed down a bit. Sister Jiu, have you really thought it through? Before Wen Jiu could speak, another voice rang out. I also want to ask this question. Chu Jian raised his eyebrows in surprise. Do you know how many star coins it will cost to treat these? He had just finished speaking when Kaioshishi spoke up. Yes, Jiu, we can work together to find a solution for the star coins. You don't have to step up, and you have no obligation to do so. Seeing that several of his friends were trying to dissuade him, Wen Jiu spread his hands and said, to be honest, I don't know, but I don't plan to do a business at a loss. Without waiting for the others to react, she began to explain to herself. I will have someone record every treatment fee. If the federal headquarters is willing to take over their treatment, please settle the treatment fee before taking them away. If the federal headquarters is unwilling to take over, it doesn't matter. When they can recover their human form, I will let them work and pay off the owed treatment fees before they can return to their own homes. If they can't recover, it's okay. At worst, I can open a cat and dog cafe or something like that. But it seems a bit abusive to them. Anyway, I have to choose a way to pay off the star coins. She explained her plan in detail, and the others were a little bit unbelievable. Especially Zikingai. Although he didn't have to take over the family business, he still had to understand some common sense. So he swallowed and said, Sister Jiu, when you spoke just now, you sounded like a banker, madly promoting various loan methods. I think so too. Kaioshishi couldn't help but pursed her lips. First borrow a sum of star coins, and then choose a way to pay it back. Isn't this the model of bank loans? Although Chu Jian and Zhu Wangming didn't say anything, they agreed with the two children. Wen Jiu, would you consider changing your career and working in a bank? While they were discussing heatedly, only Stephanie stood by with a smile. She didn't care what Wen Jiu and others were discussing at all. She fiddled with her hair and teased the little white cat on the table. Little baby, hey, little baby, what's wrong with you? Hearing this, Wen Jiu and others quickly stopped discussing and rushed to the table to surround the little white cat. the little white cat fell on the table dying, and its light golden eyes seemed to be too sleepy to open, and the whole cat revealed a dead air. Seeing this, Zhu Wangming immediately brought the rescue equipment and medicine. The other people made way for each other, and everyone knew that now was not the time to rush to watch the little white cat. Just when they were worried about the little white cat, Chu Jian suddenly came to Wen Jiu and whispered, "Wen Jiu, I suddenly feel that you are very good to me." Huh. She didn't expect the other party to suddenly say such a thing. "Did you think I was not good to you before?" Chu Jian was silent when she heard this. If you say that Wen Jiu is good to him, he is always urged by the other party to pay back the star coins, and occasionally he is used as a free laborer. But if you say that Wen Jiu is not good to him, when he could only survive in the form of a little black cat, if the other party had not suddenly shown kindness and helped him, I'm afraid he would have become an animal that has lost human consciousness. Just like the little white cat lying on the table now, it can't find its previous consciousness when it is on the verge of death. It's so pitiful. Everyone is looking forward to the survival of the little white cat. Only Stephanie is still unmoved and can even take out lip gloss to touch up her makeup. As time passes by, everyone's expression becomes more and more nervous. Fortunately, Zhu Wangming finally lived up to everyone's expectations and announced that the little white cat had been successfully rescued. "Dr. Zhu, you are my god." Ziqingyu shouted excitedly, but he quickly calmed down, fearing that he would scare the little white cat. Hearing this, Zhu Wangming just picked up a disinfected towel and wiped his sweat. The little white cat is not in a good condition. I don't know what caused its organs to fail. Organ failure? Wen Jiu couldn't help but frowned when he heard this word. Yes, the other party quickly answered her question. "I'm afraid I have to take him back to the laboratory for examination to know the specific situation." After listening, she left the veterinary room and went to the duty station to find Wang Nan, asking him to transport this batch of stray animals to Zhu Wangming's laboratory. After all, Zhu Wangming's laboratory has more complete instruments and medicines, and it is not convenient for the other party to run around without a hovercraft now. After Wang Nan learned the news, he didn't ask much, but just arranged for the staff to transfer this batch of stray animals, and he would drive the flying car to send them to the laboratory in person later. Today's second update has also been delivered on time. Thank you all little angels for your support. 030. Chapter 727. On the Blooming One. Wen Jiu first sent Kaioshishi and others to the floating bus, and then followed Zhu Wangming to take Wang Nan's flying car. Because Wang Nan was driving a floating flying car for delivery, she could only sit in the cargo hold at the back with Zhu Wangming, next to the stray animals that were to be transferred to the laboratory. It was just that both of them were in a bad mood, so they sat separately without any intention of chatting. However, some things cannot be accomplished just by thinking. For example, the two of them wanted to keep silent and think separately, but the peace was broken by Wang Nan's loudspeakers. "If you were allowed to start over, would you love me? Love brings happiness, but also brings torture. I once walked with you the legendary river of love." What was more fatal than the song played on the loudspeakers was that Wang Nan sang while listening, and the rhythmic music was mixed with the other party's off-tune singing. Really, I couldn't keep silent, even if I wanted to. "Dr. Zhu, I forgot to tell you a few things." Wen Jiu spoke first. "The first thing is that I suspect I might be a werewolf. The second thing is that I found that I seem to be able to bloom." After the voice fell, Zhu Wangming didn't know which one to ask first. Both the first and the second thing brought him a huge shock. After he came to his senses, he thought for a while. "Well, why do you suspect that you are a werewolf?" "I went to the 3rd military region to fight, and then I suddenly changed during the fight. Judging from the animal ears and tail I grew, I think I'm most likely a werewolf." Wen Jiu looked calm when she recalled this experience, as if she was not telling about the past when she was almost in trouble, but discussing with Zhu Wangming what to eat tonight. After hearing this, the other party couldn't help but hold his forehead and said helplessly, "What werewolf? You almost confused me. Isn't this just that your mutation has worsened, and then you found that you have merged with the genes of the wolf? It's okay as long as the meaning is in place, any way you can understand it." Wen Jiu thought that it would take some time to get to the laboratory, so he clicked on the light screen panel to reply to fans' comments. Because she promised Lulu that she would definitely announce her return during the day, she got up and changed her clothes and quickly posted the news that she would resume broadcasting on the Bika platform in Zingbo, and briefly explained the reason for her disappearance. After posting, she didn't care about it anymore. After all, there were too many things waiting for her, and she really didn't have time to watch the Bika platform and Zingbo to check the comments. A Big Wolf 33, am I dreaming? Are you really the rich sister? Damn, I came too early, and no fans interacted with me. The man like the wind. Damn, how come the speed of the upstairs is faster than me? The wind man? Damn, is the rich sister really going to return to live broadcasting? Damn, is there any rich fan who pinches me and tells me this is true? Little bear puff puff, grandma, your favorite food anchor is finally going to be back on the air. I'm so hungry. 800 years. Sister Fortune, I've waited for you for 800 years. I've lost more than 20 pounds. My family members are worried that I've been heartbroken, but only I know that I'm a money grubber who has lost my mother. Beauty speechless. The hungry character above made me laugh to death. Ha 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 ha. The money grubber who has lost his mother is too real. But I only lost more than 10 pounds. After all, I still have the snowflake crisps to support my weight. Which loves apples. Can anyone understand the pain of a new money lover like me? I finally found a food anchor I like, but she suddenly disappeared before I could even watch her live broadcast. Who understands me? Who understands me? I was exposed suddenly. I understand. I understand. I understand. I'm also a new fan who joined the pit after the broadcast was stopped. No one understands the pain of me having to watch the recorded broadcast replay every day. I really want to eat the dishes made by Sister Farke once. Chris wants to eat 5 bowls. I heard that Sister Farke is going to return to live broadcast, and I came to grab the front row before I finished my shower, but I found that the front row was occupied by you. Big brother monkey, Chris, just accept your fate. I check Zingbo at any time and set special attention to Sister Farke. As a result, I found that the comment area has been refreshed by thousands of people as soon as I entered. Little beans who strayed into the room. Why did I receive push notifications even though I didn't follow this blogger? Is it because my order of snowflake crisps was collected by big data? Wen Jiu slowly looked at the comments on Zingbo and then chose a few familiar names to reply. But before she had looked for long, she heard Zhu Wangming say, if you have already mutated into animal ears and a tail, then I have to speed up the preparation of medicine for you. Otherwise if you keep mutating like this, you will really become a werewolf. Becoming a werewolf is pretty cool, she said while replying to the comments. By the way, I borrowed some herbs for the potion from a friend. You can start making it after he delivers it to you. Hearing this, the other party was stunned for a moment and then asked in confusion, who is your friend who is so awesome? He can even get the herbs that are specialties of the 3rd Military Region Research Institute? Wen Jiu paused for a moment before saying with a smile, he is really awesome. Seeing that she didn't want to say more, Zhu Wangming muttered leisurely, becoming a werewolf is not cool at all. After your half-human half-wolf stage is over, you will become a little wolf cub. Well, just like them, after becoming little wolf cubs, they will gradually lose human consciousness, followed by organ failure, and finally, before he could finish his words, Wen Jiu interrupted him quickly, you don't have to say anything in the end. I understand, Dr. Zhu. Isn't it okay for me to actively cooperate with the treatment? Seeing this, he smiled slightly and said with satisfaction, well, I still have to be an obedient patient. At this point, he continued, by the way, what do you mean when you said that you can bloom? Well, I found that when I was emotionally excited, strange flowers would suddenly appear on my body. Wen Jiu recalled carefully, the first time was when I was promoted to the 5th level of supernatural power. Then she recounted the incident of her body blooming in detail, and also told about the incident that Zikingyuan Kaioshishi saw the seeds blooming. Hearing this, Zhu Wangming fell into silence again until Wang Nan's hoarse voice sounded again. I miss you every day. I love you every day, but why I always ignore me? You yeah, make me obsessed with ya, but you just want my body and not my hearty. And when Jiu swallowed back what they wanted to say after hearing the last line of the lyrics, they really wanted to open the sliding window and ask Wang Nan where he found these magical songs. This is the third update of the day. Thank you all again! 030. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 728 Exploded Again 1. But when Jiu and Zhu Wangming didn't say anything after all, they arrived at the laboratory on the outskirts of Dongfang City under the brainwashing of the magic song. I have moved all the animals into the warehouse. If there is nothing else, I will leave first. Wang Nan wiped the sweat from his forehead. He had just helped Zhu Wangming move the animals. He was exhausted after going back and forth several times. Hearing this, Wen Jiu handed him a glass of water first. Thank you, Brother Wang, you have worked hard today. He took the water and drank it in one breath, then waved his hand with a smile and said, "It's not hard, it's not hard. I'm working in the shelter now, and I earn more than before selling waste. I should thank you." He didn't have awakened superpowers and didn't have money to go to ordinary college, so he could only do some simple jobs to support himself. Although he was very happy working in Grandma Zao's waste recycling station, the star coins he could earn were not enough for him to support his family, so he had to do some part-time jobs every time he had free time. Now he was recruited by Wen Jiu to work at the shelter. The star coins he earned every month were not only enough for him to support his family, but he could also save some of the rest. Apart from other things, he was grateful to Wen Jiu for his salary. So when the other party asked him to help with something, he would not have any resentment at all, but would be happy from the bottom of his heart. After all, compared with Wen Jiu, he could do very little, and it was his honor to help the other party. But Wen Jiu didn't know what Wang Nan was thinking. After the other party left, she opened the light curtain panel and transferred a sum of star coins according to the market price. "You shouldn't mind if I call a few people to help?" Zhu Wangming put one hand in his pocket and stared at the stray animals in front of him with a serious expression. If he wanted to complete the test alone, it would take at least 2 full days. If it were normal, 2 days would not be considered slow. But now that the little white cat was suddenly on the verge of death, he didn't dare to stretch the time too long, for fear that a minute late would cause other stray animals to get into trouble. Hearing this, Wen Jiu nodded and agreed. "It would be best if you can find a few more reliable helpers." "I don't mind. I also hope to get the test report as soon as possible and start treatment." After the two communicated well, they went about their own business. Zhu Wangming clicked on the light screen panel to make some contacts. Before waiting for the helpers he mentioned to come to the laboratory, he took the lead in testing the stray animals. Wen Jiu on the other side continued to do afternoon research. She first listed the recipes for elixirs she could think of, and then adjusted them according to the characteristics and medicinal properties of interstellar herbs. 2 coins for golden laid jade, 1 coxcomb, and 4 coins for purple salvia milchiahiza. She muttered softly while weighing the herbs. Because she used to weigh coin and teal when making elixirs, Zhu Wangming, who passed by from time to time, would occasionally look at her in surprise. However, although the other party was surprised, he did not mean to ask. In addition, there were so many stray animals waiting, Zhu Wangming did not have the time to stop and chat. After Wen Jiu found all the herbs she needed, she sat beside the operating table and was in a daze. She wanted to adjust the formula of the elixir and then make a potion for Uruman to take. But she couldn't guarantee the efficacy of the potion, whether it would be as powerful as the elixir. So she began to struggle. In fact, refining elixirs was easy for her. She was mainly worried that she would blow up the furnace again. If she accidentally blew up Zhu Wangming's laboratory, he would definitely hunt her down to the ends of the earth. After thinking for a while, she turned back to look at Zhu Wangming, who was drawing blood from the stray animals. "Dr. Zhu, is your operating room explosion proof?" Ah. The other party sealed the drawn test tube. It must be explosion proof. After all, doing experiments is a very dangerous thing, so the operating room must be explosion proof and fireproof. Dean Huang also told me that the decoration materials in the operating room are all specially made, fireproof, explosion proof and high temperature proof. Wait, why do you suddenly ask this? Zhu Wangming finally reacted here. Are you going to make highly dangerous drugs? Although explosions during experiments are not uncommon, he does not want his laboratory to explode. It is rare for him to find the laboratory that meets the requirements. If it explodes, where can he find a second one to use? Maybe, perhaps, probably. Wen Jiu blinked cunningly. Hearing this, Zhu Wangming could not help but say helplessly, "You are going to the Tiger Mountain knowing that there are tigers there." "I just want to give it a try," she said helplessly. "If you are afraid that I will blow up the laboratory, forget it. I can find an empty space by myself. It would be best to refine the elixir in the laboratory, but if the other party is unwilling, she can only settle for an empty space with no one." Things like furnace explosions are familiar the first time, and she has long learned how to protect herself from the impact when the furnace explodes. At most, she has to clean up the furnace, which is not difficult to deal with. Seeing that she insisted on doing so, Zhu Wangming asked curiously, "What type of new medicine are you going to study? Why is the probability of explosion so high?" The other party heard her ask several times in the afternoon how to deal with the laboratory explosion, but he didn't expect that she was still asking about this matter persistently in the evening. As for the few potion formulas I accidentally saw before, the configuration methods are quite unique and there are many unstable factors, so I asked a few more times. The way of refining pills is indeed very unique for interstellar people, but the most unstable factor is Wen Jiu, who always explodes when refining pills. She herself doesn't understand why she always makes pills explode. Hearing this, Zhu Wangming was silent for a long time before speaking. "You'd better do it in my laboratory. I'm afraid you can't find a suitable place when you go out." Before Wen Jiu could answer, he immediately said, "I'm more afraid that you will damage public property because of the explosion, and then I will have to redeem you if I'm caught by patrol personnel. Because Ruman is now bedridden, all matters related to the other party were handed over to him. Although he loves the house and the people in it, and feels guilty about Wen Jiu, this does not mean that he wants to get himself into big trouble. Okay, I'll go inside to do experiments later." Wen Jiu was immediately happy when he heard this. Seeing this, Zhu Wangming couldn't help but sigh helplessly. It is indeed difficult to take care of children. Ruman is usually very tired. After chatting for a while, the two continued to do their work until their helpers arrived. The first update of today has been successfully delivered. Please check it out. Little Angels 030. Chapter 729 exploded again too. Old Zhu, what's the big deal that you need our help? I finally found a man I like to date, but you called me and broke it off. Zhu Wangming, you have to compensate me, okay? Sisters Hong, forget it. Work is not more important than dating. Next time, I'll introduce you to a brother who is tall, handsome, and a soldier in the military district. 2 men and 1 woman walked in, each with a black eye, as if they had joined some organization that stays up late. The woman walking in front yawned. "Zhu Wangming, what did you say on the phone just now? You want me to come and help you treat the animals?" "It's an animal, but not completely." Zhu Wangming was too lazy to explain so much at this moment, so he handed over the electronic panel he had prepared in advance and asked the 3 of them to check the information and understand it for themselves. Seeing this, Hong Xiaohang smacked her lips in displeasure. TSK, you asked me to come over to help, and you put on a bad face. Do I owe you hundreds of millions of star coins? Sister Xiaohang, please don't dislike what I have to say. The man standing next to her took over the electronic panel. Old Zhu has helped the 3 of us a lot in the past, and it is only right for him to call us now when he needs something. Hong Xiaohang couldn't help rolling her eyes after hearing this. That can't disturb my date with a man. Lin Xiangshan, don't use the past to pressure me. At this point, she turned back to look at the man who was going to introduce her to a date. Zuki, remember to push your brother's Star Network account over, otherwise I will beat you to a pulp. Okay. Zuki, whose name was Court, nodded in response, fearing that this female devil would beat people up if she was unhappy. After the three of them argued for a long time, they began to check the information. What the hell? Old Zoo, do you suspect these animals are experimental subjects? Lin Xiangshan never keeps secrets and always says what he wants to say directly. The 3rd military district actually threw experimental subjects here? Are they crazy? Hearing this, Zhu Wangming just folded his arms with an indifferent face and said, if the 3rd military district could be a little more normal, it would not be able to come up with a plan to create new humans. As soon as he finished speaking, he heard Hang Xiaohang yelling angrily, these bitches, I thought it was crazy enough that they were doing gene fusion experiments to create new humans, but I didn't expect them to be able to do this. If the federal headquarters doesn't sentence all the people in the 3rd and 5th military districts to exile, I will really take a spaceship to Uriel Star to ask the federal court for an explanation. Damn it, I'm so pissed off. Her scolding simply expressed everyone's thoughts. They could not tolerate the evil deeds of the 3rd and 5th military districts, which research institute would destroy the failed experimental subjects by throwing them to low-level planets or uninhabited planets to die. No, other research institutes would not dream of fusing animal genes into humans, let alone kidnapping a bunch of innocent children for experiments. The three of them used to be medical soldiers in the military region, and they had all been to the military region research institute to participate in experimental projects. But they all have their own bottom line, and they will never touch things that they shouldn't touch, especially such unscrupulous experiments. Okay, calm down. Zuki took the initiative to stand up to ease everyone's emotions. Now is not the time to scold the 3rd military region. Let's check the experimental subjects first. He just learned about the situation from Zhu Wangming. The other party called them here mainly to rush the time and wanted to get the test report of the experimental subjects out as soon as possible so that treatment for the experimental subjects can be carried out earlier. Hearing this, Hang Xiaohang just snorted and said, Zuki likes to pretend to be a good person all day long. I scold the 3rd military region and I have to take care of it. Sister Xiaohang, I'm trying to calm you down. Emotional stability is conducive to the progress of work. He was not angry after being named, but just scratched his head with an awkward smile. Fortunately, the other party did not intend to continue to entangle, but just shifted his sight to the inner room beside Zhu Wangming. Who is the person in there? Who else did you call to help? They are all members of the Burning Flame organization, and they are all retired medical soldiers. Naturally, they know that there are a few people in the organization who are both knowledgeable in medicine and can treat animals. After counting, there are only 4 of them, so she was curious about who else Zhu Wangming asked for help. Oh, it's Wen Jiu, the one adopted by Mandman. The other party answered her coldly. Hearing this, Lin Xiangshan's eyes widened in surprise. When did Xiaoyu adopt a child? Before he could finish, he heard Hang Xiaohang say, Wen Jiu. Why does it sound familiar to me? Is she a student of 3047 Academy? Huh. Sister, you also adopted a student of 3047 Academy. Although Zuki was not as surprised as Lin Xiangshan, he also showed a very confused expression. Because each team of the Burning Flame organization usually has different tasks to perform, not everyone in the organization knows about the existence of Wen Jiu. So Zhu Wangming briefly introduced Wen Jiu's origins, but he did not talk about those things involving the other party's privacy. For example, these experimental subjects were originally raised by Wen Jiu in the shelter center, and the other party was also an experimental subject of the 3rd Military Region Research Institute, etc. The main reason is that he was betrayed by Xiao Li and Xiao Zhao before, and the vice president he trusted very much was also a traitor. Therefore, when he contacts people now, he will deliberately keep a few points. Besides, he was not qualified to help Wen Jiu narrate the past. He just needed to let Hang Xiaohang and others know that the other party was now Yu Ruman's daughter and a trustworthy partner. It's okay if she is a trustworthy person. I'm afraid of meeting that garbage like Xiaoli and Xiao Zhao again. Hong Xiaohang always spoke without mercy. Although she was not a member of Zhu Wangming's team, Xiaoli, Xiao Zhao and some other people were announced by the feminine organization in the member meeting room after they rebelled. That's why she asked Zhu Wangming so cautiously, fearing that the other party would find unreliable people for the sake of speed. Hearing this, Lin Xiangshan also complained, yeah, who would have thought that the two of them would rebel? When I organized the drinking party, I also invited Xiao Zhao to participate. They didn't rebel, Suki chuckled with an ambiguous meaning. They were originally working for the 3rd Military Region. To us, they are called traitors, but to the 3rd Military Region, they have to be called heroes. Just as he was mocking himself, Zhu Wangming suddenly turned his head and looked at him coldly. Seeing this, he couldn't help but frown in confusion. But before he could ask, he heard an explosion. Today's second update has also been delivered. Thank you to every little angel for your support and love. 030 Muar. Chapter 730 exploded again. 3. Zhu Wangming opened the door of the inner room in a panic, and the scene inside shocked him so much that he froze in his place. The inner room was in a mess, with green unknown liquid on the walls and floors, and thick black smoke rising and gathering in the air. In addition, there were countless glass fragments and indistinguishable metal fragments on the ground. Seeing this, he quickly pressed the emergency button near the door. Oh my god. Old Zhu, has your inner room been bombed by a ray cannon? Lin Xiangshan stared at the scene in front of him. Could it be that the killer from the 3rd Military Region came to find you? Hong Xiaohang on the side was also stunned. Zhu Wangming, you won't let Wen Jiu play freely in there, right? Hearing this, Zhu Wangming came to his senses and rushed in. Wen Jiu. Wen Jiu. Are you okay? The room was full of black smoke that gathered, but after he pressed the emergency button, as the exhaust system accelerated the processing, the black smoke that blocked the view finally dissipated. At the same time, Wen Jiu, who was covered in dust, also appeared. Ahem. Dr. Zhu, I'm fine. She staggered to Zhu Wangming and greeted him with a big white tooth. My pills are finally made. With this, Teacher Yu, she said, and she stopped talking because she saw a few people standing next to Zhu Wangming. The only woman looked familiar to her, but she had no impression of the other two. So she stopped talking immediately, so as not to make too many mistakes. Seeing this, Zhu Wangming was relieved and said, as long as you are fine, we will talk about other things later. By the way, these 3 are the helpers I invited. Then he briefly introduced Wen Jiu, so that the other party could recognize the 3 guests. Hello, brothers and sisters. Wen Jiu greeted with a smile. I'll go and clean myself up first, and come to chat with you later. After that, she ran into the bathroom like a flash. Seeing this, Hong Xiaohang couldn't help but raise her eyebrows. This little girl is quite sweet, but she looks familiar to me, as if you Rumen brought her to see me before. She would only refer to herself as old lady when she was in a bad mood. Isn't this girl from the 3047 college? Lin Xiangshan asked curiously. It's not surprising that you have seen her, Sister Xiaohang. Hearing this, she answered while combing her hair. Now that you mention it, I have some impression of her. She had a fight with other students before, and then you Rumen brought her to the infirmary to see me. The main reason was that Wen Jiu had changed a lot, so she couldn't recognize him for a while. She remembered that the other party had a sallow complexion and was thin and small before, which was completely different from the white skin and well-proportioned figure now. It's quite normal. Children change over time. Suki didn't think it was strange. My niece is about the same age as her. I saw she was quite small half a year ago, but she grew up a lot after half a year. After chatting for a while, the few people were sent to the warehouse by Zhu Wangming to continue testing the batch of stray animals. Wen Jiu slipped into the bathroom and washed her face with clean water before thinking about what to do with her clothes. She didn't have the habit of bringing a change of clothes when she went out, and it was impossible for her to ask someone to send a set here now. Besides, she couldn't take a shower in this bathroom, so it was the same as not changing her clothes. Just as she was lost in thought, there was a knock on the door. Wen Jiu, do you want to go home first? Zhu Wangming didn't expect that she would really blow up the laboratory when she said it would. I'll ask someone to come and clean up the laboratory later. How about you come over tomorrow after you have rested well?" Hearing this, she quickly replied, "Ah, that's fine." She really tried to suppress the temperature of the flames and was 120% alert. But there was no way. The explosion had to happen. Fortunately, she had ordered 2 alchemy furnaces from Gaoleo before, so it didn't matter if this one exploded. She had a spare alchemy furnace in her wisdom ring. Thinking of this, she took out a small porcelain bottle from her wisdom ring. "Zuan pill, I really spent a lot of money to refine you." Wen Jiu remembered several kinds of elixirs that could restore one's appearance, but after thinking about it, she still chose the Zuan pill with the mildest medicinal properties. Although she blew up an alchemy furnace to refine the Zuan pill, she succeeded in refining it anyway, so it was not a loss. After thinking about it, she still didn't rush to give the Zuan pill to Zhu Wangming. It was not because she didn't trust him, but because she didn't trust those strangers. So after looking at it for a while, she put the small porcelain bottle into her wisdom ring, then pushed open the bathroom door and walked out. "It's too late now. I'll find someone to take you home." Zhu Wangming was relieved when he saw her walk out, as if the big stone hanging in his heart had finally fallen. Hearing this, Wen Jiu nodded and agreed. Okay. She looked like she had just come out of a coal pit. It would be scary to hang out outside at night. In order not to get into trouble, she just obeyed. While waiting for the people Zhu Wangming had found, she suddenly remembered something important. "By the way, Dr. Zhu, the soil I asked you to bring me before." Before she could finish her words, Zhu Wangming interrupted with a sigh. "I brought it. It's with Kaioshishi." "Wait, did she forget to give it to you?" "Well, it seems so at the moment." Wen Jiu responded with a blink. Maybe because she was busy resolving the conflict between Kaioshishi and Stephanie yesterday, the other party just forgot to hand over the cultivation soil to her. Hearing this, Zhu Wangming nodded. "Then go home and get it from her. The little prince's gift is also with her." "What? Is it the little prince I know?" she immediately asked with wide eyes. Seeing this, the other party nodded again in response. She thought that, since she was not on Brickstar, she would not receive the gift from Loy Russo, but she did not expect that he actually left one for her. He is really her good friend. Good brother. Good. Anyway, everything is good. Thinking of this, she asked, "Dr. Zhu, when will the person you are looking for come? I have something urgent to do, and I have to go home. If you want to go back to get the gold, just tell me," Zhu Wangming said, revealing her thoughts. "It won't take long. He just said he is nearby." After the other party finished speaking, he took out an electronic panel and asked her to record her flowering on it. After she left, it would be convenient to check and study. Wen Jiu would naturally cooperate with this kind of thing, so she wrote down everything exactly as it happened. Before leaving, she also opened the light curtain panel and transferred a sum of star coins to Zhu Wangming as compensation. After all, she had just blown up the other party's laboratory, and it would be a bit too much to not give him any star coins. Alas, she really hoped that the speed at which she earned star coins could catch up with the speed at which she spent star coins. This is the third update today. Thank you all for your support again. 030 Whisper. The author's mind has been a little confused these days. If there is anything wrong with my writing, please point it out. Cac. Chapter 731 Daily Life with Friends 1. When Wen Jiu arrived at Donghu Garden, it was already past 10 o'clock in the evening. Because she had reached the 5th level of supernatural power, and her physical fitness had been greatly improved, she didn't feel tired after being busy for most of the day. But not being tired does not mean not being hungry. Before going home, she went to the small supermarket in Donghu Garden. Although the refrigerator at home was filled to the brim by Chujian and Zikingyu, she still wanted to stroll around the small supermarket to see if there were any fresh ingredients. 80% off for wakame beans, cliff mushrooms, and whirlwind sweet fruits. Friends in need, please move to the fruit and vegetable area to buy. Night had arrived, but the number of people in the supermarket had increased instead of decreased. Wen Jiu shuttled around with a basket, looking for the fresh ingredients she wanted. She originally wanted to go to the seafood area first, but after she heard the broadcast saying that vegetables were on sale, she decisively turned around and went to the fruit and vegetable area. But as soon as she stepped into the fruit and vegetable area, she was grabbed by someone. Zio Wen, when did you go home? Sister Chen was still so enthusiastic. Are you on vacation at the college? No, 3047 college still has 10 days before the summer vacation. Hey, Zio Wen, why are you so dirty? There are holes in your clothes. Did you encounter something that is difficult to solve? Hearing this, Wen Jiu could only smile and greet her. Aunt Chen, what a coincidence. You are here to buy vegetables too? How about we go and see the discounted fruits and vegetables together? She didn't know how to explain why she had a holiday early and how she made herself look so dirty, so she simply used the tactic of changing the subject. Fortunately, Sister Chen was very fond of this and immediately dropped the previous topic. Okay, I'm telling you the vegetables in this supermarket are quite fresh, the other person gossiped while walking side by side with her. I heard that the supermarket owner personally purchases the goods every day. No wonder this supermarket is so prosperous. Hey, Zio Wen, do you still remember Grandpa Chu? He's the landlord of your store. His grandson suddenly came back a few weeks ago, and he was so happy. Wen Jiu knew that Grandpa Chu's grandson had returned home, but she didn't mean to interrupt. She just listened carefully to Sister Chen's gossip. She didn't understand it before, but now she understands why Sister Chen is so popular. When a person is alone, it is very rare for someone to be willing to treat you warmly, and the worldly atmosphere brought by the other party is also precious. Oh, such good wakame beans are on sale at 20% off. Sister Chen took a fancy to the green and crisp wakame beans at first sight. Zio Wen, come over and weigh a few pounds to take back. Hearing this, Wen Jiu gave up the cliff mushrooms in front of her and turned to wakame beans. Let me take a look. She originally wanted to buy a few pounds of cliff mushrooms to fry and eat, but seeing that the wakame beans on the sales counter were indeed fresh, she picked 2 bundles and went to the weighing place to queue up. Because Sister Chen lived on the same floor as her in the same unit, the two walked back together after shopping. Coincidentally, as soon as she got out of the elevator, she ran into Sun Ran, who was opening the door. Oh my god. Isn't this classmate Zio Wen? The other party's enthusiasm was exactly the same as Sister Chen's. Classmate Zio Wen, are you well? Wen Jiu was a little confused by this question, but she quickly responded and said, I'm almost well. Just take the medicine and rest on time during this period. She guessed that she and Kao Shishi and others had disappeared for such a long time, and Huang Qiumei must have used their illness as an excuse to fool them. After all, they didn't show up for more than half of the semester, and they had to give an explanation to the 3047 college. Facts proved that her guess was right. After listening, Sun Ran smiled and replied, that's good, that's good. I wanted to go to the hospital to see you before, but Dean Huang said that you and Teacher Yu were too sick to see people. So I put the gift at home, thinking that I would send it directly to your home after you and Teacher Yu recovered. Oh, by the way, classmate Wen, I often see strangers entering and leaving your house these days. Who are they? Sun Ran often saw 2 strangers entering and leaving Wen Jiu's house these days, so she specially asked Zhang Heling to find the property department to inquire. Then she learned that the 2 had entered the household owner's authority, and it was Wen Jiu who gave them the authority, so they could come and go freely without restrictions. Hearing this, Wen Jiu hurriedly explained with a smile, they are my friends, and they occasionally come to stay for a while. She had just finished speaking when she heard Sister Chen ask, oh, by the way, Zio Wen, has your distant relative left? It's the handsome guy who helped in your store. Ah, he went to work somewhere else a long time ago. She quickly made up an excuse, but Sister Chen smiled and said the next second, what a pity, your brother and Zio Chu look so much alike. They are just like 2 peas in a pod. If your brother hadn't left, he could have been half brothers with Zio Chu. Wen Jiu could only smile awkwardly after hearing this. The brother she made up was Zio Chu himself. How could he not look alike? But she didn't expect Sister Chen to remember it so clearly. You know, Chu Jian had studied Macup seriously at the beginning. Every day when he went out, he wore a 3-piece set of makeup, wig, and eye palette. And the image that Chujayan deliberately created was the type of brother next door, which can be said to be completely opposite to his real image. Alas, it's getting late now. Sister Chen handed the bag in her hand to Sun Ran. Zio Wen, go home and rest. Hearing this, Wen Jiu said goodbye to the two people in front of him. After they closed the door, she opened her own door. Everyone inside the door heard the movement outside early in the morning, but they all tacitly did not open the door to disturb them. Especially Chujayan, who was suddenly mentioned by Sister Chen, took a few steps back after hearing his name, fearing that Wen Jiu would open the door the next second, and he would run into Sister Chen directly. Once Sister Chen knew that he and Wen Jiu knew each other, it would be equivalent to everyone in the commercial street knowing it. In order not to cause trouble to Wen Jiu, it seems that he will have to disguise himself when he goes out in the future. What are you all standing there for? The other party gave orders without any politeness as soon as he entered the room. Shishi, you and Zikingayu, wash these skirt beans together. Hukiki, you go to the kitchen and find the tools for making dough. Nini, you should clean up the things on the table. And you, Chujayan, why don't you go home? Hearing this, he smiled and spread his hands. My young master, I'm waiting for you to come back for supper. Is there anything I can do for you? When Wen Jiu heard that he was looking for trouble again, he rolled his eyes and replied, if you are bored, just clean my house. It will give the robot a good rest. This is the first update of the day, please check it out. Little Angels. 030. Chapter 732. Daily Life with Friends 2. She had long been accustomed to Chujayan's occasional tantrums, and now she would not get goosebumps when being called Little Master, and would not care about it anymore. Call her whatever you want, it won't make her lose a piece of meat anyway. So after she arranged her things to do with everyone, she hurried back to her room to take a shower and change clothes. Although she tried her best to clean herself before coming back, her clothes were still dusty, as if she came out of a coal mine. After Wen Jiu had completely cleaned up, the 4 people and 1 fox outside had also finished. Jiu, we had dinner at the shelter tonight, and Grandma Zao cooked a pot of porridge herself. When Kyoshi saw her coming to the kitchen, she hurriedly told her what happened after she left. Before she could ask, she heard Zikingayu at, the old lady's intentions were good, but the porridge tasted ordinary, so we didn't eat much. But the small fruit that Grandma Zao gave me is still delicious. Stephanie put away the things on the dining table. I don't know if the supermarket downstairs sells small fruit. Hearing this, Wen Jiu took out a piece of black wined mountain pork and then pointed to the pocket on the table and said, I just bought some tornado sweet fruit in the supermarket downstairs. I tasted it in the tasting area and it tasted good. If you want to eat it, you can wash a few. As soon as she finished speaking, Stephanie turned over her pocket and found a lot of red fruits. The skin was crystal clear without any flaws, exactly the same as the small fruit she had eaten. So she picked up the bag and went to the bathroom. There was no way. The kitchen was so small, everyone was crowded here, and it was really hard to let go. After she left, Wen Jiu dealt with the washed kelp beans. My dear, did you and Dr. Zhu find anything in the lab? Chujayan squeezed in at some point, looking at her with a faint smile. Dr. Zhu said that the earliest we can get the result is tomorrow, she answered while cutting wakame beans, but he has figured out a general direction. Then, she repeated what Zhu Wangming said while cooking. In fact, it's nothing special, but if the degree of alienation is too high, it will change from human to animal form. If there is no drug to suppress it at this point, it will slowly lose human consciousness and become a real animal, and finally begin to decay its organs until death. After hearing this, Chujayan couldn't help but say solemnly, the people of the 3rd military district and the 5th military district are really unforgivable. They used living people as experimental subjects, and in the end they were thrown away like garbage. By the way, I read the news on Starblog today, saying that the federal headquarters will soon finish the interrogation, and the results of the interrogation and compensation for the victims will be released in the near future. Hearing this, Wen Jiu continued while chopping meat. I hope Dr. Zhu can get the results as soon as possible. Who knows, after submitting them, the 2 military districts will be more guilty. Although the 3rd military district and the 5th military district were doomed this time, she still wanted to add a stroke to the crimes committed by the 2 military districts. She liked to do things that added fuel to the fire and made things worse. Besides, who asked the 3rd military district to provoke her? She originally just wanted to live a peaceful life, earn some star coins, live in a big mansion and drive a fast car. As a result, the 3rd military district had to run into the muzzle of the gun, causing her to make a big fuss on Brickstar and Doris Star. Now, the whole military region is going to be ruined. Really, she has never seen someone who likes to die so much. I don't know if any of the arrested people from the 3rd military region and the 5th military region have confessed this matter. Chu Jian no longer had the mood to joke. He was both irritated and uncomfortable at the moment. Although he was always smiling in front of Wen Jiu, he felt particularly uncomfortable every time he returned home. Especially when he saw the marks he had carved in the past. His hatred for the 3rd military region would begin to grow continuously. At first, when he was taken to the base by the teacher, he thought that he had the opportunity to receive extra training because of his strong ability, but he never thought that this was the beginning of his falling into the clutches of the devil. He would suffer all kinds of torture every day, and he had to fight with his classmates who used to be with him day and night. All this made him have nightmares every night, and the whole person became more and more gloomy and depressed. It was not until later that he was suddenly injected with anesthetics and sent to the real seedling base that he realized that everything before was just an appetizer. Thinking of this, Chu Jian couldn't help but clench his fists. He didn't want to think about those dark days at all, not because he was afraid, but because he was worried that he would lose control of his emotions. His hatred for the 3rd and 5th military regions was so deep that he wanted to rush to the Federation headquarters or Uriel Star and kill all those disgusting and dirty people with a ray cannon. Chu Jian, do you still remember the man named Liang Yi? Wen Jiu's voice suddenly sounded beside him, calming his emotions that were about to get out of control. I remember. Of course I remember. He took a deep breath and replied, a disgusting thing is not worthy of being called a human. Hearing this, Wen Jiu kneaded the dough and said, you also know that he was escorted to Doris Star by the Ming family, so let me tell you about his experience in the Doris Star supervision camp. Her words caught Chu Jian's attention. Oh, tell me more. Seeing this, she talked about how she dealt with Liang Yi, as well as the rebellious Lu Zuoying and Xiao Zhao and Xiao Li. She didn't want to talk about these things because she was a little violent when she dealt with those people, and she was afraid that it would scare her friends. But she saw that Chu Jian was not in a good state just now, so she guessed that he was thinking about the past. As the saying goes, the person who tied the bell must untie it. She hoped that Chu Jian would get out of the shadow of the past as soon as possible, so she told it. After thinking for a while, unexpectedly, in addition to the other party who was concerned about this matter, Zikingayu, Kaioshishi, Stephanie, and Hukiki who was kneading dough on the side, all listened with relish and were very excited. Great. Good will prevail over evil. Zikingayu almost jumped up with joy. Jiug, you are so cool. This is how you should treat bad guys. You must not be soft-hearted. He had just finished speaking when Kaioshishi continued. Yes. It's okay to use some means to treat bad guys. Jiu, you did a great job this time. I will learn a lot from you in the future. The two of them were like fans of Wen Jiu's fan club, blowing rainbow farts one after another. Today's second update has also been delivered. Thank you to every little angel for your support. The author has seen the comments and votes you wrote. Thank you all so much. CAC. Chapter 733 Daily Life with Friends 3. After the two members of Wen Jiu's fan club finished their praises, it was Chu Jian's turn to speak, who had remained silent the entire time. I didn't expect you. He couldn't help but curl his lips when he said this. You are different from what I imagined. When he smiled, he looked more carefree than when he didn't smile. Coupled with his exquisite face that had innate advantages, he looked like a free and easy knight. Seeing this, Zikingayu came close to Kaioshishi and whispered, brother, he is so handsome when he smiles. He is several times more handsome than my biological brother. It's a pity that he didn't enter the star entertainment circle. Zikingayu, don't be like this. He's your biological brother. The other party shook his head disapprovingly. Although your brother is not as handsome as brother Harry, your brother's appearance is still acceptable. Besides, you and your brother are brothers. You will look at least 70% like him when you grow up. Aren't you belittling yourself by saying that? Hearing this, he immediately reacted, "You're right. Why isn't brother Harry my biological brother?" Just as the two of them were whispering, Chu Jian looked at Wen Jiu, who was making dumplings, and said, "Thank you. That's enough. There's nothing to thank me for." The other party looked ungrateful. "If you really want to thank me, return the star coins earlier. Otherwise you will go to another planet one day, and I will have to come all the way to collect the debt." After that, Stephanie, who had been playing with the doll, spoke up. "Jiu, there seems to be something else in your words. It's not a big deal. Have you forgotten what Dr. Zhu said before?" When Jiu showed Hukaki how to make dumplings while explaining, "The federal headquarters will compensate us victims." I thought about it carefully later. The compensation given by the federal headquarters is nothing more than star coins or resources. I don't need to explain the former to you, right? I guess the latter is most likely from the school. Then, she told the general direction of her guess. The four people and the fox listened carefully, as if they were listening to some task assignment. But there are quite a lot of victims this time. Can the federal headquarters handle it? After listening, Zikingayu was the first to ask a question. Hearing this, Wen Jiu shrugged. "If we can't solve it, I think we should stop this federal headquarters. My brain is more flexible." Jiu is right. Anyway, the results will be out soon. We don't have to worry about anything now. Just live our lives well. Kyoshi couldn't hide her smile when she said this. It can be seen that she likes her current life very much. After she finished speaking, Stephanie couldn't help but pout. "Well, why is there no death penalty in federal law? I really want to watch the live broadcast of the execution." This sentence successfully attracted everyone's attention, and everyone turned their heads and stared at her. Seeing this, she blinked innocently. Why are you all looking at me like this? I just said it casually, forget it." When Jiu was helpless with her, "Just tell us some things, don't say them outside." Stephanie now lives in her home. If she says something strange outside, there may be security personnel who will come to give her benefits. She really just wanted to earn some star coins to live. She didn't want to be arrested and taken to the Public Security Bureau for questioning. In order to save this embarrassing situation, Zikingayu took the initiative to find a topic. "By the way, Sister Jiu, my brother asked me to ask you, when are you going to open a store? He has been losing money since he took over the Danghu shopping mall. If you don't open a store to save him, he will probably go bankrupt." Hearing this, Wen Jiu couldn't help but tilt his head and think, "Let me think about it. The day after tomorrow afternoon. I have a new plan now, but I don't know if it can be realized." "Well, Sister Jiu, aren't you going to open a small restaurant? The other party was free and learned to make dumplings. Are you going to open another store?" Kyoshi saw Zikingayu making dumplings, so she went to get a piece of skin to make them together. The two always compete in such strange places, but everyone has long been accustomed to their bickering and competing, so they didn't feel strange when they saw this scene. "Well, I plan to open a spicy hot pot shop or a dessert shop." She had already finished pinching the dumpling skin in her hand and was now slowly pinching buns. As soon as she finished speaking, Stephanie said excitedly, "Dessert shop, dessert shop. I love desserts. Jiu, you are so good to me. You actually opened a dessert shop for me." Seeing this, she couldn't help but sigh helplessly and finally did not break the other party's beautiful fantasy. But if she didn't speak, someone would always speak. "First of all, I don't think Wen Jiu opened a dessert shop for you," Chu Jian said with a slightly sarcastic smile. "Secondly, I think it's better to open a dessert shop in a shopping mall." After he finished speaking, Zikingayu and Kyoshi expressed their agreement, and even Hukaki, who had been silent, nodded. Although they had never eaten spicy hot pot and didn't know what spicy hot pot was, from the literal meaning, a dessert shop was more appropriate. Hearing this, Wen Jiu pondered for a moment before saying, "It's rare for you guys to stand on the same front, so give me a reason first why it's better to open a dessert shop." Well, Zikingayu pursed her lips. "I just simply want to eat free desserts." As soon as he finished speaking, Kaioshishi continued, "Zikingayu, don't take advantage of Jiu. My brother gave Jiu such a big rent discount. It's not too much for me to have a few bites of free desserts, right?" He lowered his head guiltily as he spoke, but the action of pinching dumplings in his hand did not stop. After he finished speaking, Wen Jiu pinched the buns and said, "I won't say anything else. This time it was your brother who invited me to open a shop, so of course he had to give me a big discount. With her ability, she could open a shop in other places, and it would be prosperous. If Zizio hadn't given her a big rent discount and full of sincerity, she would not have opened a shop in a shopping mall with not much traffic. Okay. Can't I buy it with star coins?" Zikingayu puffed up her cheeks in anger, completely different from the arrogant young master in the past. You know, he used to have the same idea as Zizio. Both of them would use star coins whenever possible. It was only because he had been with Wen Jiu for a long time that he developed the concept of saving as much as possible. After saying that, he added aggrievedly, "Sister Jiu, you must open a dessert shop. Although I haven't eaten malatang, I have eaten the desserts you made." Then Wen Jiu learned from Zikingayu that the reason why everyone wanted her to open a dessert shop was that she rarely made desserts for them to taste. Food like malatang can be eaten at any time, which makes the desserts she makes seem particularly precious. Today's third update has also been delivered on time. Thank you again to every little angel for your support. Mua 030. Chapter 734 Kalpia and Meat Dumplings 1. After Wen Jiu learned the reasons of her friends, she felt a sense of laughter and tears. She did not usually make desserts, so it was no wonder that everyone was greedy after eating them. But she did not expect that they were so obsessed. Between the spicy hot pot that they had never tasted and the dessert that they had eaten occasionally, they resolutely chose the latter. Thinking of this, she couldn't help but ask curiously, "You haven't tasted the spicy hot pot I made? Aren't you afraid that you will regret choosing a dessert shop?" After the words fell, Zikingayu, who made the first choice, said confidently, "Sister Jiu, I will definitely not regret it." As soon as he finished speaking, Kaioshishi followed up, "How you are so confident, isn't it? Just because Jiu can make spicy hot pot at home? Lie. You too?" He raised his chin with a little arrogance, without any embarrassment of having his thoughts exposed. The two of them fought back and forth, adding some pleasant atmosphere to the kitchen. Seeing this, Wen Jiu only smiled faintly and continued to pinch the buns in his hand. She made two kinds of fillings this time. One was leek and egg filling, and the other was kelp bean meat filling, commonly known as kalpia meat filling. But here kalpia is called kelp bean, so she followed the local customs and shouted, "Hey, Chujian, quickly open the lid of the pot. Hukiki, the water has boiled, and you can put the dumplings in. Nini, that garlic paste artifact cannot be used to break glass balls." After the buns and dumplings were made, Wen Jiu directed everyone to steam the buns and boil the dumplings. Everyone was busy for a while, and finally managed to have this dinner before 12 o'clock. The white and plump dumplings like ingots were squeezed on the plate, and the big and round buns kept rising with steam. But in the harmony, there were a few crooked dumplings that even missed some fillings, and buns of different sizes that were made in strange shapes. Alas, why don't I have such a skillful hand as Jiu? Zikingayu held the small bowl of Wen Jiu's secret dipping sauce, his eyes full of dissatisfaction with the dumplings he made. After he finished speaking, Kaioshishi, who always loved to bicker with him, was silent at this moment. It was not because she gave up the fun of bickering, but because the dumplings made by the other party were also ugly. So when he finished speaking, the person who took over the conversation became Chujian. "TSK, I think it's okay." The other party also participated in the dumpling making session, who said dumplings have to look like that. "I think I made it pretty good." Hearing this, Wen Jiu picked up the chopsticks with a smile and handed the triangular dumpling to Chujian. "Come on, don't talk, eat your dumplings." Seeing this, the other party was not angry at all, but picked up the chopsticks with a smile and ate the dumplings in the bowl in one bite. Although this dumpling looks quite strange, it tastes quite good thanks to the filling. The soft and delicate dough wraps the tender and juicy meat filling, and the crispness of the wakame beans is refreshing when chewed. The taste is mellow and rich, and there is a faint fragrance. Chujayan finished the dumplings happily and pointed to his bowl with chopsticks and said, "Little master, another one." Hearing this, Wen Jiu rolled his eyes and said, "Don't come here to ask for a beating. Oh, are you willing to hit your distant brother?" The other party had a smile on his lips, which was quite provocative. Wen Jiu was amused by his words. "Only you are eager to be this distant brother. Brothers should settle accounts clearly. Remember to return my star coins." Okay, big sister Jiu doesn't hold grudges against little brother Harry, the hungry Zikingai hurried to help. "Let's have a good meal." After he finished speaking, Kaioshishi continued, "Zikingai is right. Let's eat first." Since the two children who love to bicker the most have spoken, Wen Jiu will not have the intention to continue making trouble. So she handed everyone a hot bun. "Then let's eat." After she finished speaking, Stephanie, who had been quiet all the time, sighed gloomily. "Alas, I thought I could see little Jiu beating up little black cat. What a pity facts have proved that the one who loves to add fuel to the fire and watch the fun the most is not Chujayan, but Stephanie, who always watches the fire from the other side. Fortunately, every time she wants to make trouble, she will be suppressed by her friends. For example, now Hukiki was kneeling on the chair, and the bun in her hand was stuffed into her mouth in an instant. Oh, you still won't stop even though there's a midnight snack." The other party's tone was a little puzzled. "Is there anything that can't be solved by a big meal?" After saying that, Hukiki picked up another snow white bun. On the bright white and flawless dough, there were regular and beautiful wrinkles one after another. After living for so many years, this was the first time he had eaten a bun. So after admiring it for a moment, he opened his mouth and bit it. The strong aroma of wheat suddenly hit him in the face, making him feel like he was running in a wheat field. The wind blew the wheat waves, free and beautiful. But this feeling didn't last too long before it was diluted by the rich and mellow aroma of fresh meat. The rich and fresh gravy flowed on the tip of the tongue, mixed with a faint fragrance of kelp beans. The combination of the two flavors is just right, neither abrupt nor ingenious, and it cleverly dissolves the greasiness of the gravy itself. The combination of the tender and juicy meat filling and the soft and sweet dough made him eat one bite after another, constantly enjoying the impact of multiple flavors and the wonderful taste of various ingredients intertwined and fused. As Hukiki was eating, he found that everyone was using dumplings or buns to dip in the bright red secret dipping sauce. As a fox fairy, he naturally did not want to be left behind. He immediately picked up a kelp bean meat dumpling and wrapped it in his own dipping sauce. With one bite, the strong meaty aroma and the strong spicy taste intertwined, bringing him an unprecedented fresh experience. The already fresh and delicious meat filling was baptized by the secret dipping sauce and instantly stimulated a stronger and more attractive aroma. It tasted fresh, spicy, delicious and mellow, and from time to time there was the fragrance of kelp beans wafting, as if he had walked around in a fragrance bomb array. The whole person, no, the whole fox was floating in the air. Sure enough, he was right to recognize Wen Jiu as his master. The 5 people and the fox each buried their heads in eating for a long time and unknowingly ate up all the dumplings and buns. "Sister Jiu, why don't you open a shop to sell dumplings and buns?" Zikingai touched her bulging belly. "I think you can do a prosperous business selling these." Hearing this, Wen Jiu, who had just stood up, turned around and replied, "Of course, it's not like I haven't sold them before." She had sold dumplings in the college cafeteria before, so she naturally knew how popular selling dumplings was. But after she finished speaking, Zikingai revealed a trace of sadness. "Today's first update has been successfully delivered. Please check it out, little angels." 030. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 735 Friends in the Distance 1. Seeing this, Kyoshi couldn't help but ask curiously, "Hey, why are you so unhappy even though you're full?" I just miss the days of school a little bit." Zikingayu rarely sang a different tune and told the truth seriously. In fact, not only did he miss it, Kyoshi also missed it. When they were in school, they always felt tired from training, but they were kidnapped to the seedling base and suffered a lot. Only then did they realize how happy the days were. Hearing this, Chujayan raised his eyebrows and smiled. "You are just taking a summer vacation in advance. Don't talk like you can't go back to the academy in the future." As soon as the voice fell, the two children looked over. After getting along for this period of time, they already knew what Chujayan had experienced in the past. The fear that once existed in their hearts also disappeared after learning the truth. Especially Zikingayu. He is not only a member of Wen Jiu's fan club, but also the president who advocates the establishment of Chujayan's fan club. On the one hand, it was because he admired Chujayan's strength and appearance, and on the other hand, he was very grateful to him for protecting him and Kyoshi at the 3047 hospital. So after he learned about Chujayan's past, he felt very sorry for this genius who had suffered so much. He was particularly sad when he thought that he and Kyoshi could still go back to the academy to study, but Kyoshi had already grown up and would never have the chance to experience the happy and comfortable life in the academy. Seeing that the air pressure in the living room was getting lower and lower, Wen Jiu stopped leaving. "Why are you also depressed? Nothing in the world is absolute. Before the final outcome comes, never be depressed, okay? Zikingayu, you, Shishi and I are just on a summer vacation in advance. It's not like we can't go back to the academy to study in the future. Don't be sentimental all day long, okay? And you, Chujayan, many things haven't come to fruition yet. Why are you so self-destructive? If you ask me, it's better to live well in the present and worry less about the days to come." She still can't comfort others as usual and can only squeeze out a few dry words of encouragement. Fortunately, her friends are not the kind of people who are keen on self-pity. As soon as she finished speaking, Chujayan regained his former spirits. The other party brushed up his drooping fine bangs, revealing his deep and charming Roland purple eyes. The next second, Chujayan raised his eyes and stared at Wen Jiu with a defiant smile on his lips. Even if he didn't say it, you could tell that he was in a particularly good mood at the moment. But Wen Jiu quickly looked away and walked behind Zikingayu and patted her, saying, "You're not still depressed, are you?" No, I'm just reminiscing about the past." The other party was stunned for a moment when he was suddenly patted. Seeing this, she couldn't help but tilt her head in confusion. "But I see that your face is as red as an apple, and it doesn't seem like you are reminiscing about the past." Zikingayu suddenly missed the old Jiu sister who didn't care and had no curiosity. He was indeed reminiscing about the past, but many things he thought of now were particularly shameful. For example, he used to be domineering and always looked down on people. He also regarded Wen Jiu as his enemy. In order to find out the truth, he sneaked into the cafeteria and was fooled into becoming a dishwasher. Although he was very fortunate to have a friend like Wen Jiu, it didn't prevent him from feeling ashamed when he thought of the past. So he pretended to be calm and said, "Who said you can't blush when you think about the past? What's wrong with me blushing?" Hearing this, Wen Jiu couldn't help but chuckle. Yes, then you can recall it slowly and recall it well." She hadn't seen Zikingayu's arrogant look for a long time, and there was an inexplicable sense of freshness, so she was too lazy to bother with the other party. Just when she wanted to speak again, she heard Hukiki patting her belly and said, "Banley and Imeo haven't gone home so late?" The other party's question reminded her that it was already past 1 in the morning, and Zikingayu and Chujayan hadn't gone home yet. This was indeed a bit abnormal, but before she thought about it for long, she got the answer from Zikingayu. "My brother bought 903, but he's been very busy recently, so I can only move in first." Hearing this, Wen Jiu didn't know whether to sigh that it was good to be rich, or to sigh that someone could do this level of good for food. She remembered that 903 was designed with 4 bedrooms and 2 living rooms, which meant that Chu Jian actually went there to live for free. Before she could ask, the other party nodded at her. It was really hard to imagine. She remembered that Chu Jian and Zizio were incompatible before, but she returned to planet 3047 a while later, and the two suddenly became friends who could live in the same room. Sure enough, the relationship between people is always changing. No wonder I met your brother downstairs a few days ago. Kyoshi suddenly reacted. Hearing this, Zikingayu smiled shyly and said, my brother wanted to give Sister Jiu a surprise after moving in, so I kept it a secret for him. He had a hard time hiding this matter, you know, he especially likes to sniff out gossip. Similarly, he also likes to gossip. Although his brother gave up the mansion and moved to an ordinary community, it was just to get delicious meals every day. But this did not prevent him, a gossip maniac, from taking this matter as a joke while living there for free. TSK, didn't brother you tell you not to say anything? Chu Jian waited until he had revealed all the information he needed to reveal before he said this lightly. After he finished speaking, even Stephanie, who had been wandering around, could hear the gloating in his words. Little Chestnut's brother is Big Chestnut. The other party didn't get to the point at all and just joined the small talk. Why does little black cat know Big Chestnut? After hearing this, Zikingayu was stunned for a moment and then briefly explained what happened. In addition to the previous things, when Chu Jian went to the supermarket in Donghu Mall, he accidentally ran into Zizio, who came to inspect the situation, and then happened to hear that Zizio wanted to buy 903. What happened next? To put it nicely, Zizio invited Chu Jian to live with her in friendship, and to put it bluntly, it was to use borrowing to stay to shut the other party up. After saying so much, your brother and you have moved out. What about your parents? Wen Jiu raised his eyebrows after listening to the whole story. Hearing this, Zikingayu smiled shyly again. My brother and I have agreed that we will go home together every few days and never let our parents worry. Okay, then when will your brother move in? She was not interested in asking so many other people's housework, so she wanted to finish the chat quickly so that she could pull Kyoshi back to the room. My brother said he will move in the day after tomorrow. The other party thought seriously for a while. It just so happens that you can talk to him about the store. This is the second update of today. Thank you for the support of every little angel. Whispering, little angels, because the little author unfortunately sprained his waist last night. He has been lying on the bed to rest today. It hurts so much that the little author really can't write the third update. Cack. I'm very sorry. The third update will be made up as soon as the little author feels a little better. Please understand, little angels. It really hurts. I have been lying on the bed from last night today and then tonight. These two updates are all coded by the little author with my mobile phone in one breath. ORZ. Then it hurts so much that I can't write anymore. I can only say that everyone must get up and move around after sitting for a long time, and don't sprain your waist like the little author. It hurts so much. QWQ. Chapter 736. Friends in the distance 2. When Jiu felt that if he continued chatting, he would not be able to fall asleep until 3 or 4 o'clock, so he hurriedly ended the chat and pulled Kyoshi into the bedroom. Anyway, there were 3 people and 1 fox cleaning up outside, so she didn't have to worry about the cleaning and sanitation. Shishi, Dr. Zhu said that he gave you the soil he brought back. Kyoshi just remembered this after hearing this. She was overwhelmed by the joy of Wen Jiu's return, so she spent the past 2 days in a daze and completely forgot that she had to hand over the other party's things. So she quickly took out 2 sacks and a gift box with beautiful packaging from her wisdom ring. This is the soil that Dr. Zhu dug himself. She pointed to the 2 sacks and continued, this is the gift from the little prince in my hand. After she finished speaking, she handed over Aluoyi Russo's gift. Seeing this, Wen Jiu took the gift box with a smile on his face, and then couldn't wait to open the package. Just by feeling the heavy weight in her hand, she began to guess how many gold bars were in the box. As expected, there was a box full of Aurora gold bars. The shining and charming golden light suddenly appeared, making her eyes widen. Is this the joy of being friends with rich people? She smiled from ear to ear. This is the gold with the highest market value, and it is a full box, which can greatly increase her savings. Hearing this, Kiyoshishi, who was dazzled, couldn't help but ask in confusion, "It's so strange, we didn't receive so many gold bars. Could it be that the little princes?" Before she finished speaking, Wen Jiu confidently continued, "He wants to buy Hukiki's little fur balls. It seems that these gold bars are not only gifts, but also deposits he gave me in advance." Seeing this, she had to swallow the rest of the words back, hoping that her thoughts were wrong. TSK, how many fur balls do I have to sell for so many gold bars? Wen Jiu was still immersed in the beauty of selling fur balls to make gold. "By the way, how much gold did the little prince give you?" It must be said that Stefani's nickname is very useful, and it is much easier and more convenient than calling the real name. Since she promised Luoyi Rusuo that she would sell Hukiki's fur balls to him, she would not be a person who goes back on her word. So she had to know how much extra gold Luoyi Rusuo gave her, so that she could provide him with fur balls according to the excess. Kiyoshishi cooperated very well, and took out her gift box. Although both gift boxes were filled with gold, the sizes of the gift boxes were completely different, which resulted in different amounts of gold inside. Since the gift box Kiyoshishi got was the same as the gift boxes of Zikingayu and others, Wen Jiu only needed to compare his own with the other party. He actually gave so many. She quickly counted the number of gold bars in the box. "He didn't want me to pull Hukiki bald, did he?" Hearing this, Kiyoshishi looked as if she wanted to say something but stopped. Jiu, do you want to think about it from another angle? In fact, she had no idea in her heart. It was just a hunch. After hearing what she said, Wen Jiu said firmly, "I know. The little prince has not given up the idea of buying Hukiki." Okay, she thought it would be better for her to keep quiet. Alas, Hukiki is not for sale. No matter how many gold bars he gives me, it won't work. The other party sat on the ground dejectedly. "Shishi, go wash up first. I'll go talk to the little prince." Seeing this, she breathed a sigh of relief and hurried into the bathroom. After Wen Jiu calmed down, she clicked on the light screen panel and browsed her friend list. When she was still on Doris Star, she added Luoyi Rusuo and Huo Ziana as friends. Of course, this was mainly due to Zikingayu, although the other party had a little temper. But when she met someone who was willing to interact, she would immediately maximum out her social skills. So she successfully added Luoyi Rusuo and Huo Ziana under Zikingayu's matchmaking. It's just that the former was an account she took the initiative to ask for, and the latter was a buy one get one free gift. Jiu is rich. Brother, have you eaten lunch? Before she sent the message, she specifically checked the official time of Dawnstar. It was exactly 1 o'clock in the afternoon. She estimated that it was almost time to finish lunch. I just hope that Luoyi Rusuo is not a person who likes to stay up late. Otherwise she will not know when she will get a reply to the cordial greetings she sent, after considering for a long time. But then again, Luoyi Rusuo is the Prince of Dawnstar, and he has a home in the gold mine. Will the other party wake up in a 500 square meter bed every day, and then be served by 600 servants to dress, wash, and eat? Just as she was giving full play to her imagination, she suddenly received a reply from Luoyi Rusuo. "Dawn is coming. Just had dinner. Dawn is coming. It's so late. You haven't rested yet?" The hall with golden light was bustling, and melodious music was around. One after another, people in formal wear greeted each other in the magnificent banquet hall. But everyone would secretly cast their eyes to the corner, where a handsome young man with extraordinary temperament was standing. Although there was a faint smile on the other's delicate face, his eyes were full of alienation that kept people at a distance. His Highness the Sixth Prince is indeed the most beloved. Not long after he came back, His Majesty held this banquet to officially announce the Sixth Prince's return to Dawnstar. Wow, it's really a big deal. Yes, I heard that the other princes were more or less dissatisfied after hearing the news. That's right. His Highness the Sixth Prince's homecoming banquet was so grand and luxurious, comparable to the banquet where His Highness the First Prince was appointed Crown Prince last year. Because Luoyi Rusuo had been missing for too long, he didn't know most of the people who came to the banquet. but he didn't mean to develop relationships as soon as possible. So after King Russo took him to meet the important people, he found an excuse to stay in the corner to kill time. It was not until his wisdom ring bust just now that he pulled himself out of his wandering state. He had known about Wen Jiu's return to planet 3047 for a long time, but he felt that his relationship with him was ordinary, so he didn't send a message to disturb him. Unexpectedly, Wen Jiu actually took the initiative to send a message with an inexplicable familiarity, as if they were old friends who had known each other for a long time. Whether out of politeness or selfishness, he checked the official time of planet 3047 and then replied with the same familiar tone. Jiu Yao Chen Wangan, I'm not sleepy yet, so I didn't sleep. Seeing that the other party sent a new message very quickly, the coldness in Luo Russo's eyes also dissipated a little. Just when he thought Wen Jiu was here to exchange feelings, the other party suddenly changed the subject and got to the point. Jiu Yao Chen Wangan, by the way, although we are friends now, there are some things I have to emphasize. My fox is not for sale. Finally, made up for the third update of today. ORZ, whispering, good news. The author's waist is getting better. I can get out of bed by myself today cack. But the doctor said I have to apply the plaster for another 2 days and be paralyzed for another 2 days QWQ. Oh, everyone should take care of their health. Don't be paralyzed like the author. Chapter 737 Friends in the Distant 3. After Wen Jiu sent the message, she typed several more in a row. She revised it several times, but still didn't know how to start. The main reason was that Luo Russo gave her too many gold bars, and she didn't want to turn Hukiki into a bald fox. On the one hand, it was because of her conscience, and on the other hand, her morality did not allow it. Of course, the most important thing was that Hukiki would definitely not be happy, so she couldn't pull the furball under such circumstances. Fortunately, Luo Russo quickly explained the reason. The other party gave her more gold bars because he wanted to thank her for saving everyone from the water and fire. As for the part of Aurora gold used to buy furballs, it was calculated separately and was not included in the gold bar gift box given to her. After Wen Jiu learned the reason, she thanked Luo Russo and said that, when she was free, she would definitely send him a heavy return gift. Although the return gift she sent was not as heavy as the gold gift box, she still had to show her courtesy and thoughtfulness. The two chatted casually for a while, and Wen Jiu found a reason to close the conversation until Kaioshishi came out of the bathroom. Then, she glanced at her friend list and found that Lu Yan was not online. She closed the light screen panel and got up to go to the bathroom. She was busy for most of the day, and it was almost 2 o'clock in the morning when she finished washing up, so she fell asleep soon after getting into bed. A dreamless night. Really? I dreamed that I drove a mecha to kill an 8th level interstellar alien beast. So cool. Zikingai who ate sesame dumplings while telling her dream last night. Hearing this, Chuchayan smiled nonchalantly. The 8th level interstellar alien beast could be killed by you with one blow. That was indeed a dream. He and Zikingai spent last night in 903. When they woke up in the morning, they hurried to Wen Jiu's house for a meal. It's not all a dream, okay? I will be able to do it one day sooner or later. The other party turned his head away with some displeasure, as if avoiding his teasing gaze. Seeing this, Kaioshishi smiled with curved eyebrows. Yes, Master Z will definitely be able to do it in the future. She dreamed last night that she successfully entered the military academy, and after graduation, she was recruited into the 8th military region. Therefore, she is in a very good mood now, and she did not sing a different tune from Zikingai. Oh, what's your dream? Hukiki didn't know where the competitive spirit came from. When it comes to dreams, this great immortal is still the best. Then, he told the story of his dream of becoming an immortal and then unifying the galaxy. Puff. Stephanie started laughing wildly halfway through, and no one knew what she was laughing at. After all, it was a dream, so it was normal to be a little outrageous. So Hukiki asked angrily, what's so funny about my dream? But he is now a boy of 7 or 8 years old, with a round face and a pink face. He can't scare people when he gets angry. Hahaha, I just suddenly thought of foxes ruling the stars. Doesn't it mean that every planet must have a fox statue? Hahaha, it's really funny. The more Stephanie talked, the brighter her smile became. But everyone couldn't understand her magical sense of humor, so they all lowered their heads and ate the glutinous rice balls in the bowl. Seeing this, she took a tissue and gently wiped the tears from her laughter. Fortunately, the cosmetics she used today were all waterproof. She saw that no one was talking, only Hukiki was staring at her angrily, so she turned her head and looked at Wen Jiu. Little Jiu, they all bullied me. Hearing this, Wen Jiu answered while lighting the light screen panel, then you can bully them back. I believe you can fight 5 people alone. She didn't even raise her head when she said this, and she didn't even bother to give a glance. Because she was busy with work, she had no time to chat with everyone. Seeing this, Stephanie couldn't help but complain. Jiu, you don't even participate in our chat. Don't you have any dreams? After hearing this, she was stunned for a moment, then shook her head and replied, I seem to rarely dream, and even if I do, I can't remember it. Okay, you guys chat, I'm busy here. After that, she continued to deal with various tasks. First of all, Ming-Yan kept urging her to submit samples of peanut nougat, but she couldn't spare the time to make peanut nougat these 2 days. She couldn't make a copy for the other party, right? It's true that you can't judge a person by his appearance. The handsome guy who looks so gentle and jade-like is actually a workaholic who only wants to go to work. She also learned from Ming-Yan that after she disappeared, the other party almost bought a spaceship ticket to come to planet 3047 to find her, for fear that her hard-earned partner would be lost. Emotionally, she was very grateful that Ming-Yan missed her, but from a work perspective, this is too terrible. The other party can actually go to such an extent for the development of the company. Such a strong sense of career is a bit too strong. If she and Ming-Yan were not familiar with each other, she really wanted to send a message to the other party. With such a strong sense of career, which company can make money if Wuao Food does not make money? In addition to submitting the peanut nougat sample, there is also Lulu's crazy urging her to resume broadcasting. The other party originally agreed to wait for her to resume broadcasting slowly, but the money fans were too excited after hearing the news, and they were swiping the screen on Xingbo and Bikalev every day. Of course, everyone still has a sense of public morality and did not occupy the square that outsiders would see. They only commented on the homepage of Gongzi Farke and the official Xingbo of Bikalev. In just over a day, her homepage and the official Xingbo of Bikalev were occupied. There were even some disobedient money fans who rushed to Wuao Food and asked Wuao Food to launch the next cooperative food as soon as possible. Although the snowflake crisps are really delicious, everyone has been eating them crazily for several months and really wants to change to a new taste. In this way, it became the reason why Ming-Yan urged her to submit samples as soon as possible. The top management of Bikalev also gave Lulu a task, which was to let Gongzi Farke resume live broadcasting as quickly as possible. Bikalulu, sister. Can I call you sister? When can we resume live broadcasting? The money fans and I are so anxious. Jiu Yaochan Wangun, sister. Can I call you sister? I also want to resume live broadcasting as soon as possible, but I'm really busy recently. Bikalulu, how about this? I call you mom. Can you resume live broadcasting within 3 days? You don't know how anxious the money fans are. Bikalulu, I posted a Xingbo promoting other anchors yesterday, and the number of comments and reposts was 999 plus in a few minutes. I thought this little anchor was popular, but guess what? Jiu Yaochan Wangun. They are all money fans? After replying the message, Wen Jiu inexplicably felt a little guilty. In order to prevent the anchors from cheating by increasing their followers, the Bikalev broadcast platform has made public the list of responsible persons. In other words, as long as the fans pay attention, they will find that Lulu is a responsible person, and then follow this point to find the other party's star blog. Today's first update has been delivered. Please check it out. Little Angels. ORZ. Chapter 738 New Discovery 1. Finally, when Jiu understood Lulu's difficulties and promised her that he would resume broadcasting within 3 days, There was no way. The reaction of the money fans was stronger than she expected. She didn't dare to open Zingbo now, for fear that she would be overwhelmed by the news. After temporarily solving these two things, she left home with Chu Jian. As for the rest of the people, they all had their own things to do. Although Ziqinggai was allowed to stay overnight, she still had to go home to report her safety during the day. Kyoshi was going to Donghu Mall with Stephanie to explore the recent customer flow and go shopping. But in Wen Jiu's opinion, she thought the two girls just wanted to go shopping, so she found an excuse. Kyoshi and Stephanie's mode of getting along is really strange. When they are good, they can sleep in the same bed, and when they are not good, they can poison each other. Fortunately, since Wen Jiu educated the two, they can now get along well. Competition for favor will occasionally appear, but poisoning is impossible to recur. As for Hukiki, she naturally stayed at home obediently. However, Wen Jiu thought that Zhu Wangming had nothing to do at home alone, so he gave him the vegetable and fruit planting package he had bought earlier, as well as the planting soil that Zhu Wangming had brought back from afar. After letting him sleep until his strength recovered, he went to the balcony to plant vegetables and fruits and water the flowers and plants. So after breakfast, the friends went to do their own things. Because Zhu Wangming's laboratory was too far from the city, Wen Jiu and Chu Jian took a floating bus for a while, and then used the necessary walking tool for humans. Legs. Hurry up. Why did you fall behind? Wen Jiu finally found the entrance to the laboratory, but when he turned around, he found that Chu Jian was very far away from him. Obviously, the two of them walked side by side when they came, but now they were separated by nearly 50 meters. After hearing the sound, the other party ran. You walked too fast. Chu Jian's chest rose and fell quickly. After your mutation deepened, your abilities in all aspects also improved. Hearing this, Wen Jiu shrugged speechlessly. It's hard to say whether my abilities have improved, but you must have deliberately slowed down and been lazy just now. She had been thinking about how to solve the problem of the experimental subject, so she didn't care about Chu Jian's deliberate slowing down. Who knew that, when she turned around just now, the other party would fall so far behind? This little episode passed quickly, because as soon as the two arrived at the door of the laboratory, they ran into Zhu Wangming, who was sending his helper away. Hey, little Wen Jiu. Are you busy here so early in the morning? Hong Xiaohang greeted with a smile. Hearing this, Wen Jiu could only smile and respond, yes, Sister Xiaohang, I have something to ask Dr. Zhu. She felt that Hong Xiaohang looked very familiar yesterday, but she didn't have time to think deeply at that time. When she was wandering on the way back, she remembered that the other party was the school doctor of college 3047. Oh, you are thinking of me. Hong Xiaohang was so happy when she heard her words. Okay, I'll come and talk to you next time. I'm leaving now. After saying that, the other party walked towards the hovercraft parked outside. Seeing this, Zuki and Lin Xiangshan also said goodbye to Zhu Wangming and walked towards their own hovercrafts. It's not that they have any opinions about Wen Jiu, but they have been in the laboratory all night and really want to go home and rest as soon as possible. After they all drove away, Zhu Wangming swept away the coldness on his face and restored his approachable appearance. Seeing this, Wen Jiu couldn't help but ask curiously, Dr. Zhu, why are you always cold and indifferent to them? When she first met Zhu Wangming, she thought he was a meticulous person who kept a subtle distance from everyone. But after getting familiar with him, she found that Zhu Wangming also had a friendly side, and he would occasionally joke with her. But whenever he faced outsiders, Zhu Wangming would return to his aloof appearance. It was not like he was cold on the outside but warm on the inside, so she was quite curious about this. Hearing this, Zhu Wangming pinched his brows and said, I treat everyone like this except your mother you, but you and she don't know it. Oh, I almost forgot, now I have to add you. The other party couldn't help but sigh when he said this, as if it was a very difficult thing to bring Wen Jiu under his wing. Oh, so that's how it is. Wen Jiu seemed to be unaware of the grievance. Are the results out? I worked with them all night and only got some results. Zhu Wangming walked forward while explaining the situation, while Wen Jiu and Chu Jian followed quietly behind. At present, we can confirm that the batch of stray animals are the abandoned experimental subjects, but we still need a few days to conduct more comprehensive tests to prevent the results from being inaccurate and detailed and causing some unnecessary trouble. Hearing this, Wen Jiu did not show any anger, because she had guessed such a result a long time ago. She just needed Zhu Wangming to confirm it. However, she still clenched her fists silently after listening to it. Although she was not a particularly kind-hearted person, the unscrupulous behavior of the 3rd and 5th military regions was really uncomfortable. How dare they? Chu Jiadan's expression was extremely cold, as if he would start a massacre in the next second. Seeing this, Zhu Wangming first entered the password to open the door, and then walked, while talking about the situation. They were busy all night, and in addition to confirming that the stray animals were experimental subjects, they also gained some new discoveries. Although most of the experimental subjects were in a relatively poor state, there were still a few experimental subjects with human consciousness, and they could even communicate with them through picture recognition. He didn't know whether those experimental subjects who had completely become animals could be restored, but these experimental subjects who still retained human consciousness might be able to turn back into humans through specific methods. This news made Wen Jiu excited. She and these experimental subjects were also grasshoppers on the same rope. In short, they were the same kind. She naturally hoped that they could recover as humans and return to normal life. But I don't know the specific method. Zhu Wangming had a headache when he said this. My previous memories are still sporadic. But I can be sure of one thing. I really don't know how to return to being an adult, so I have to ask you for this matter. If it weren't for the fact that Wen Jiu had never turned into an animal, and only Chu Jiadan had survived an animal form, he would not have allowed the other party to come to the laboratory together. This place is also his secret base, and naturally not everyone can come in. Today's second update has also been delivered. Let us thank the voice input function. CAC. Chapter 739 New Discovery 2. Look, these are the ones that still retain human consciousness. Xiaohe, Xiaohuang, Xiaohu and Xiaobei. Zhu Wangming's naming method coincided with Wen Jiu's, and Chu Jiadan's originally cold expression cracked a little, because he remembered his own. No, he didn't want to think about it. He immediately shook his head, letting himself forget the past. Seeing this, Wen Jiu, who wanted to check the experimental subjects, couldn't help asking, "What's wrong with you? Is there water in your ears?" "Oh, I just stretched my muscles." He calmly made up an excuse. "I remember there were more than 30 experimental subjects sent, but only these 4 still retain consciousness. As the saying goes, the best way to avoid embarrassment is to forget embarrassment. In short, change the subject." After the words fell, Zhu Wangming nodded helplessly. "Yes, there are only these 4. With that, he released these experimental subjects. Xiaohuang is the most conscious human being. He even remembers his own name and can communicate with people by recognizing pictures. A dog that looked like a golden retriever came out of its soft nest. As soon as it saw Zhu Wangming, it barked a few times, as if it was saying hello. Seeing this, Wen Jiu approached Chu Jiadan and asked, "Hey, were you conscious at the beginning?" "At the beginning? Do you mean when you met me, or when you turned back into a human?" Although the other party's eyes stayed on Xiaohuang, it did not prevent the two from whispering to each other. "That must be when we first met." She touched her chin with some curiosity. "If you were conscious at that time, then I would." Hearing this, Chu Jiadan felt a little uneasy inexplicably. "What did you do? Throw me out of the house?" "Oh, that's not the case. I'm still a very loving person." She looked up with a smile, but staring at the other party made her more uneasy. "I mean, if you were conscious at that time, then the star coins you spent on Xiaohen's medical treatment and pet supplies should be included." Chu Jiadan breathed a sigh of relief after hearing this. Well, Wen Jiu is still the same Wen Jiu, and he only has star coins in his eyes. So he raised his eyebrows and replied, "Little master, are you going to care about these star coins? Haha, don't, come on." The other party slapped him on the waist. "Don't change the subject. Were you conscious at that time?" He was about to speak when he heard Xiaohuang barking, as if he was talking to them. Seeing this, Zhu Wangming took out his electronic panel and then gently placed it at Zhao Huang's feet. Then a weird picture was born. A dog was typing seriously. Wen Jiu was also a person who had suffered a lot of shocks. After a brief shock, she quickly came back to her senses. As far as she knew, the galaxy already had intelligent pets that looked exactly like cats and dogs. Those intelligent pets, let alone typing and chatting, holding a towel to help wipe the floor was a piece of cake. Besides, the puppy in front of her is not a real puppy, it is just a real person in animal form. Thinking of this, she carefully read the text typed by Zhao Huang. The other party carefully typed with his claws, looking indescribably cute. First of all, my name is not Zhao Huang, my name is Huang NK. Secondly, I don't want to eat dog food, do you have any nutrient solution? Huang NK also carefully typed punctuation marks, fearing that Zhu Wangming and others would not understand what he was saying. Dr. Zhu, Wen Jiu silently supported his forehead. After reading this paragraph, you are not still feeding them dog food and cat food, are you? Hearing this, Zhu Wangming really felt a little embarrassed. Yes. It just so happens that Mr. Wang left a week's supply in the warehouse. I thought they were still in animal form, and maybe they were used to eating dog food and cat food. He was busy getting the results as soon as possible, and didn't think about this aspect at all. But it's good this way, he can draw a new conclusion. That is, the experimental subjects in animal form, as long as they have human consciousness, don't like to eat food that animals eat. This is a new discovery. Wen Jiu was not surprised by Zhu Wangming's shameful reaction. After all, she had fed Zhao He a lot of cat food. But she didn't feel as bad as he did. She didn't know when Chu Jian regained consciousness, so of course she could only feed him cat food day after day. So she took out a box of snowflake crisps from her wisdom ring, which she kept in there as a snack. Here, can you eat the snowflake crisps? She squatted down, opened a bag, and handed it over. Seeing this, Huang NK walked over slowly, sniffed it, and then opened his mouth, and took the snowflake crisp directly. The sweet taste burst out instantly, and hit his heart directly. Woof, woof woof woof, woof 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 woof. The barking sound became more and more rapid, and it can be seen that he wanted to eat more snowflake crisps. But when Jiu didn't pass him the snowflake crisps, the other party half knelt on the ground, and said with a smile, Huang NK, which planet are you from? Woof woof woof, woof. Huang NK was tempted by the snowflake crisps. He had been tortured by those dog food for a long time. Now that he finally ate delicious food, his mind was full of food, and he didn't have the mind to communicate. Seeing this, Wen Jiu only supported her chin with one hand, and swung the snowflake crisps with the other hand. You answer my questions first, and I'll let you eat to your heart's content, after you answer them. She didn't speak in a negotiating tone, because it was not her who needed help now, but Huang NK who was trapped in animal form. So she was too lazy to use those roundabout tactics, and she said whatever she wanted to say directly. Woof woof woof, woof. After hesitating for a moment, Huang NK quickly ran back to the electronic panel. He types quickly with his paws, fearing that he would not be able to eat the snowflake crisps. Thank Zhu Wangming for helping him enlarge the keyboard in advance, otherwise it would be inconvenient to type with his meat pads. I'm from Slintana. I was abducted by the people of the 3rd Military District 4 years ago, and that's why I ended up here. Slintana? Wen Jiu always felt that this planet sounded familiar, but he couldn't remember where he had heard it before. Hearing this, Zhu Wangming explained at the right time. Slintana is the planet with the most developed agriculture in the Federation. The black soil I gave you before, and the soil you asked me to bring back are both specialties of that planet. Oh, I remember. She nodded to show her understanding. Then how were you abducted by the 3rd Military District? After she finished speaking, Huang NK lowered his head and whimpered in grievance. The next second, the other party waved his claws and entered. The 5th Military District invested in a military academy on Slintana. I was a student there. After being selected, I was sent to the seedling base of the 3rd Military District. Today's 3rd update has also been successfully delivered. Thank you little angels for your support and love. Thanks again for the voice input function. Whispering. Fortunately, my roommates don't mind my crazy mumbling ORZ. I just feel a little socially dead. QWQ. Chapter 740 Chujayan becomes Zhao again 1. Huang Enke told how he was abducted by the 5th Military Region, how he was transferred from the seedling base to the research institute, and how he ended up being imprisoned and abandoned as an experimental subject by typing in the keystrokes. Because when we did the last consciousness test, I and the other experimental subjects were dying, so the instrument did not detect our consciousness. Perhaps this is a reason why those people relaxed their vigilance and discarded us as garbage. By the way, which planet is this? This is planet 3047, Zhu Wangming replied with a frown. Do you remember when you were taken on an interstellar spaceship and sent here? Because all low-level planets are named with numbers, Huang Enke does not need to ask about the level of the planet. I can't remember clearly, I only remember that after I regained consciousness, I was in that shelter. In fact, like other experimental subjects, the longer he maintains the animal form, the weaker his human consciousness becomes. If Wen Jiu had not built the shelter as soon as possible and asked you Rumen to find some professionals to come and look after him and other experimental subjects regularly, I'm afraid he had already lost his human consciousness and turned into an animal. However, he was able to regain consciousness mainly because he had a strong desire to survive. Like other experimental subjects, they were tortured day after day and gradually gave up the idea of turning back into humans. Seeing that Huang Enke's information was almost understood, Wen Jiu opened a few bags of snowflake crisps and fed them to him. Then, she and Zhu Wangming asked questions to the other 3 experimental subjects. Because Huang Enke took the lead, the other 3 experimental subjects did not show any aggression, but just sat on the cushion and answered the questions obediently. However, the 3 of them were not particularly sober at the moment, and the information they could give was less than half of what Huang Enke gave. Thank you for your hard work, now take a good rest. Wen Jiu smiled and picked up a white puppy, then quickly stepped forward and put it back in the cage. Although these experimental subjects are not real animals, they currently exist in the form of animals, so they can only live in pet cages for a while. The situation forced them to do so. After all the experimental subjects were returned to the cage, Wen Jiu followed Zhu Wangming out of the warehouse. Before locking the door, Chu Jian looked at the experimental subjects with a deep look. Seeing this, Wen Jiu couldn't help but sigh. If I hadn't picked you up, I'm afraid you would have become one of them. It's hard to say. The other party retracted his gaze and closed the door. I won't wait to die in the shelter. He lived in the form of an animal on planet 3047 for so long, not to be sent to the shelter as a stray animal. Hearing this, Wen Jiu only raised her eyebrows and didn't say anything. She could see the deep hatred in Chu Jian. The other party had always wanted to take revenge on those people, but he was powerless. But now was not the time to talk about the past. She walked forward and asked, how did you turn from a human to an animal, and how did you recover from an animal to a human? She saw that Huang Enke had a strong desire to survive, and his condition was better than other experimental subjects. If she could get some experience from Chu Jian, maybe she could make Huang Enke recover as a human. Hearing this, Chu Jian rarely showed a trace of shame. If I say I forgot, will you kick me out? Do you want to hear the truth? Wen Jiu glanced at him indifferently. Forget it, it's not your fault. If you knew how to change into a human, you wouldn't have to be a black man all the time. He was stunned for a moment after hearing this, and then explained dryly, I know how to change into an animal form. It's just that I'm not very clear about this change into a human. Well, then tell me more. The person who took over his words was not Wen Jiu, but Zhu Wangming, who had been looking at the electronic panel. The other party wanted to ask him this question just now, but Wen Jiu spoke first. So he told his experience of changing into an animal, and he didn't know if it could help those experimental subjects. After listening, Wen Jiu thought seriously for a while. Activate the animal genes in the body? Yes. Perhaps because the technology of the research institute is not mature enough, so I can feel the existence of animal genes in the body. As long as I focus all my attention on this, I can activate the genes of that part of the animal. As he said, Chu Jian changed in the blink of an eye. His bones and skin began to change constantly, and a layer of short black cat hair appeared. The seductive purple eyes gradually turned golden. In less than half a minute, his figure disappeared, replaced by a black cat with golden pupils. Seeing this, Wen Jiu and Zhu Wangming both showed surprised expressions. Although they knew that Chu Jiayan could change into animal forms, they had never witnessed him changing with their own eyes. Meow 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 meow. After Chu Jiayan turned into Zhao Hei, he could only make a meowing sound. I have a question. Wen Jiu squatted down and stared at him. If you don't know how to turn back into a human, then are you going to be a cat next? After the words fell, there was silence. Especially Chu Jiayan, who had already turned into Zhao Hei. He showed his skills in a moment of excitement and completely forgot that he didn't know how to turn back into a human. He collapsed on the floor in silence, and even his thin tail drooped down. The next second, Zhu Wangming unlocked the door of the laboratory. Give me some time to study. I will definitely be able to turn you back to human. Although he didn't know the specific principle, he believed that with his talent and ability, he would be able to study it sooner or later. Hearing this, Wen Jiu pinched his eyebrows helplessly. Forget it. When you study it out, it's hard to say whether he is still conscious or not. She suddenly regretted bringing Chu Jiayan to the laboratory. The other party hadn't helped much, and now she was involved. What is this? Dedicating oneself to scientific research. Wen Jiu, can you have a little confidence in me? Zhu Wangming inexplicably felt a little frustrated. I'm a person who participated in the genetic project before. What if I can find clues from my memory? As soon as he finished speaking, he heard Chu Jiayan meowing. Hearing the sound, he could only put his electronic panel on the ground and let the other party use his claws to input text to express his meaning. Looking for Fox Kiki. Chu Jiayan seemed to be eager to return to human form. He pressed many exclamation marks in a row. Seeing this, Wen Jiu immediately snapped his fingers. Yes, I almost forgot about Ukiki. Today's first update has been successfully delivered. Thank you little angels for your support and love. 030. Chapter 741 Chu Jiayan becomes Zhao Hei again too. As the saying goes, Ukiki is a brick, and it can be moved wherever it is needed. Because the laboratory is too far from Danghu district, it is very troublesome and time consuming to go back and forth. So when Jiu called Kaioshishi, she asked her to go home and put Ukiki on the bus. Kaioshishi and Stephanie happened to return home after shopping, so the two of them caught Ukiki, who was digging the soil without saying a word, and then put her on the suspended bus to the suburbs of Dongfang City. Although they didn't know what Wen Jiu wanted Ukiki to do, the other party gave them a task, and they just had to do it. I'll go to the bus station to wait for Ukiki. Wen Jiu took off his protective suit. Dr. Zhu, please help me keep an eye on Chu Jiayan. Because Ukiki arrived at the laboratory early, she changed clothes with Zhu Wangming and went into the inner room, using this free time to prepare a new medicine. As soon as she finished processing the herbs, she found that the time was almost up. So she handed the rest of the work to Zhu Wangming, took off the disinfected protective suit, and left the laboratory. The sky was tinged with a touch of orange-pink, as if depicting the dreamy atmosphere of summer. The warm breeze blowing in the face was refreshing, and there was also warm sunshine falling down. But when Jiu had no spare energy to appreciate the scenery, she quickened her pace and walked towards the bus stop. The time seemed to be well timed. She arrived at the station 1 second ago, and a floating bus slowly descended the next second. With a puff, the back door of the bus opened. A black-haired boy about 7 or 8 years old got off the bus. His delicate appearance made people love him. He first looked around with a blank face, like an innocent little animal who had strayed into the secular world. After finding the target, he smiled with his eyebrows and eyes stretched. Oh, sister. I'm here. He ran towards Wen Jiu, as if the other party was really his sister. This made the people who didn't know the truth secretly sigh that the relationship between the siblings was really good. Seeing this, Wen Jiu couldn't help but twitch the corners of his mouth for a moment. She dodged to the side when Ukiki was about to pounce on her. Okay, brother Hei is still waiting for you. After saying that, she took Ukiki's hand and walked towards the laboratory. When there was no one around, she looked down at him and asked, "Why did you become like this?" Hua said that my white hair was too ostentatious and asked me to change it to a color that would not attract less attention. Hukiki said this with a bit of grievance, and it could be heard that he didn't like Kyoshishi's suggestion. But there was no way. Kyoshishi and Stephanie put pressure on him, and the two of them even brought up Wen Jiu as an excuse. He couldn't beat them, and he couldn't reason with them. He could only change his hair color to black, and change his face to be more ordinary. Huh? Do you call this ordinary? Wen Jiu couldn't help laughing after listening to his crying. Boo, 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 shouldn't I scream? He pouted his lips in grievance. This immortal was born with extraordinary beauty, but now I'm forced to become like this. Isn't that ordinary? Seeing that he was about to cry, Wen Jiu stopped talking about this topic. It's not a big deal for me to ask you to come here. I just want to ask you how you transformed into a human. Do you have any experience to share? Or some tips or something? Hearing this, Hukiki looked puzzled. Boo, did you pick up other monsters? No, I just met some people who can turn into animals. How should I put it? She pulled the other party and walked forward quickly. Strictly speaking, they are not monsters because they are actually humans, just trapped in the shells of animals. Hukiki was confused by this, and he could only talk about his own situation. He can turn into a human because monsters who have cultivated to a certain level can do so, but he really doesn't know how he turned into a human. Don't ask, just ask the magic. Of course, he also has some racial talents. All vixens have the ability to transform and mimic, and they can master this magic without learning. In short, it is an innate ability. It's okay, since you are here. Wen Jiu stood at the door of the laboratory waiting for Zhu Wangming. Please share your experience later, and Dr. Zhu and I will see if we can find some inspiration. As soon as she finished speaking, the door opened, and Zhu Wangming's voice came out. Wen Jiu, I'll wait for you inside. Hearing this, she pulled Hukiki inside. However, when they entered the laboratory, they did not see Zhu Wangming. There was only a black cat with golden pupils lying on the ground, lazily swinging its tail. Seeing this, Hukiki couldn't help but twitch his nose, and then he said in surprise, "Huh? Is this brother Harry?" Well, Chu Jian finally lost his real name. That's right, Wen Jiu spread his hands helplessly. If it weren't for Heej turning into a black cat, I wouldn't have rushed to call you to help. With the information provided by the experimental subjects, they now know that the animal form cannot be maintained for too long, otherwise it will gradually lose human consciousness and become an animal completely. So Wen Jiu hurriedly found Hukiki, hoping that the other party could provide some experience in turning into a human. This can be regarded as a last-ditch effort. Hearing this, Hukiki said speechlessly, but I'm an animal, not a human. Where can I share my experience with Heej? Besides, even if Heej has lost his human consciousness, it doesn't matter. Let him worship me as his master and embark on the path of cultivating into a spirit. When he cultivates into a spirit, his consciousness will return. As soon as he finished speaking, he saw the black cat pounce on him. The other party's sharp claws almost scratched his neck, and he was so scared that he turned back into a fox in an instant and ran around. So when Zhu Wangming came out of the inner room, what caught his eyes was the black and white hair all over the ground. There was another Wen Jiu who was shouting hurriedly, "You two stop fighting. Stop fighting." The other party was squatting on the ground while shouting, quickly picking up the fallen white hair. Seeing this, he took a deep breath and shouted, "What are you doing? This is my laboratory. If you break something, you have to pay with star coins." It turned out that Wen Jiu's friend was just like Wen Jiu. He stopped fighting after hearing that he had to pay with star coins. It seems that the saying that money makes the world go round is not false. Meow. Meow meow meow. Abahoo. Meow. Chu Jian's eyes were vertically straightened into a line, and his foreclaws were tightly clasped on the ground, as if he would suddenly attack people in the next second. And Hukiki lay on his back on the ground humming, "Oh my hair. My hair. I'm going bald." This is the second update of the day. Thank you all for your support again. 030. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 742 Sunbankson is coming 1. But Ukiki had just said a few words when she was interrupted by Wen Jiu's crying. Chujian, you damned bastard. Why did you pull out Ukiki's fur? Hearing this, he thought that the other party was heartbroken for being bullied, so he scolded Chujian with tears in his eyes. He was just about to say that he was fine, and that the fur would grow back if he nurtured it. But the next second, Wen Jiu cried out, do you know how valuable Ukiki's fur is? My star coins and gold are like this fur on the ground, gone in a flash. Okay, he overestimated his status. Wen Jiu, can you calm down first? It was the first time Zhu Wangming saw Wen Jiu like this. The other party was like a child who lost his favorite toy, sitting on the ground with tears in his eyes, as if the whole world was grey. In his perception, Wen Jiu was always optimistic and unwilling to give up, no matter what happened. He had never seen the other party look so aggrieved. I can't calm down. The money flew away. Wen Jiu sniffed with tears in his eyes. Do you understand, Dr. Zhu? The money flew away. Seeing this, he suddenly remembered the first time he met Wen Jiu. After waking up from the medical cabin with a pale face, the other party's first reaction was to shout that he had no star coins, like a real miser. Unexpectedly, time flies, and Wen Jiu actually has a money hoarding disorder. It seems that, no matter how much the other party has experienced, it can't change the nature of loving money. In short, there is no hope. So Zhu Wangming took a deep breath and tried to calm himself down. How many star coins did you lose? Can you tell me the number? He just wanted to deal with Wen Jiu quickly. Now there are still a lot of things waiting to be dealt with, and he really doesn't want to waste too much time. Who knew that the other party stretched out his hand tremblingly? This number. 50,000 star coins? He thought that Wen Jiu was crying so hard, and the star coins should be in tens of thousands. The other party shook his head and replied, no, it's 50 grams of aurora gold. Hearing this, Zhu Wangming fell silent. When Chujian and Ukiki regained their composure, they saw Zhu Wangming, who remained silent, and Wen Jiu, who was crying heartbreakingly beside him. Meow, 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 meow. Chujian walked in front of the two and meowed in confusion. The next second, he was picked up by Zhu Wangming, and in the most shameful posture. That is, facing the other party, exposing his soft belly. So he waved his claws angrily, trying to force Zhu Wangming to put him down. As a result, the other party sighed, then gritted his teeth and said, Chujian, tell me, why did you hit Ukiki? That's a fox made of gold. Well, another one is crazy. Then again, why can't he compare to Ukiki? Isn't his cat fur more beautiful than the other's fox fur? The more he thought about it, the angrier he became, and he began to show his teeth and claws. Seeing this, Wen Jiu wiped his tears with his hands and said, forget it, Dr. Zhu. Ukiki's fur, woo woo woo, can still grow. Let's solve the problem first. Alas, if you had said earlier that Ukiki's fur could be exchanged for gold, I would have locked up Brother Hei in advance. Zhu Wangming sighed again. After hearing this, Chujian waved his claws faster. He had already lost his real name, and couldn't be suppressed by the fox again. Fortunately, Zhu Wangming let him go the next second, and didn't let him show himself in a shameful posture. He was quite sensible. Ukiki come out. Wen Jiu quickly adjusted his state. But when she saw Ukiki's hair being pulled out, and missing in patches, her well-controlled expression still showed a little crack. She could only look away. Ukiki, please turn into a human quickly, I can't hold it anymore. Hearing this, Ukiki hummed, and turned into a human. Fortunately, he could control his transformed appearance by himself, so there was no problem of missing hair. Well, let's start. Wen Jiu took out the electronic panel, write down your experience of turning into a human, so that I can analyze it with Dr. Zhu. Although he really didn't have any experience to share, he still wrote down his feelings before the transformation, as well as the techniques that monsters use to turn into humans. In fact, it's not really a technique, because monsters are monsters, and small spells like this are all innate. After he finished writing, Wen Jiu and Zhu Wangming began to analyze it carefully. However, they didn't analyze it for long, and they all looked up at Ukiki. First of all, you must be able to empty your mind, and then grasp the fleeting spiritual power, inject it into your body, and slowly spread it. Zhu Wangming was the first to speak, and he read out what Ukiki wrote slowly. Ukiki, I don't mean anything else. Are you sure this method works? And what is the fleeting spiritual power? He really couldn't understand what the other party wrote. Sometimes spiritual power, and then the fox fairy. Is this the difference between monsters and humans? Hearing this, Ukiki immediately put on airs. Spiritual power is a kind of mysterious power that we must absorb and refine when we practice. Stop. Planet 3047 has no spiritual energy, so naturally there can be no spiritual power. Wen Jiu interrupted him immediately. He was unhappy when he heard this. Oh, you asked me to write it down, and you didn't say I couldn't write it down. That's true. Sorry, it's my fault. The other party admitted his mistake so quickly that he didn't know how to refute. So he pouted and muttered a few words, and then he didn't talk about the issue of spiritual energy and spiritual power anymore. Although Ukiki wrote a lot seriously, there was nothing good about the whole article. Things fell into a dilemma again. Wen Jiu and Zhu Wangming frowned, thinking about how to solve the current problem. On the one hand, Chu Jian couldn't keep the animal form for a long time, and on the other hand, the experimental subjects had to be restored to human as soon as possible. But no matter which problem it was, only one answer was needed. That is how to restore to human. Just when everyone was thinking about it, Wen Jiu suddenly snapped his fingers. Got it. If the method Ukiki said is really useful, then I think we can find an experimental subject to try it. Hearing this, Zhu Wangming couldn't help but ask in confusion, but didn't he say that he needed some spiritual power and aura? And then you said that there is no spiritual power on planet 3047. Yes, there is no spiritual power on planet 3047, but I can make it. As soon as she finished speaking, Ukiki asked, make it? It can't be considered as making. Do you know how to divide spiritual power? As she spoke, she searched in the Ziji space. Fortunately, she saved a lot of yellow paper cinnabar, and even some ready-made talismans. Today's third update has also been delivered. Please check it out. Little Angels. 030. Chapter 743 Sunbankson is coming too. Wen Jiu, I don't mean anything else, but are you sure this method will work? Zhu Wangming just stared at Wen Jiu, who was concentrating on holding a brush. The next second, a cinnabar red pattern was drawn on the yellow paper. To be honest, I don't know. Wen Jiu drew more than 10 pictures without taking a breath, but if there is hope, just grab it. Maybe it will work. She drew a lot of spirit gathering talismans in one breath, and she didn't know if they would be useful. These spirit gathering talismans are generally used to set up spirit gathering arrays to absorb spiritual energy, so that cultivators can absorb more spiritual energy within a fixed range, which makes it easier to practice. But the problem is that there is no spiritual energy on planet 3047, so she can't guarantee how much effect the spirit gathering array will have. But now that things have come to this, they can only try their best. They can't let Chu Jian and those experimental subjects remain in animal form until their human consciousness completely disappears. Even if Zhu Wangming can find some clues through his memories, who knows how long it will take to turn these clues into feasible methods? The current situation is extremely critical, so Wen Jiu can only grasp every hope, even if it is just a little bit. She can't let it go. After drawing the spirit gathering talisman, Wen Jiu also drew a few amulets. She thought about giving one to her friends, Zhu Wangming and Yu Rumen later. Let's go. Ukiki, you stay in the formation for a while, see if you can feel the spiritual energy. Brother Harry, don't make trouble later, stay with the experimental subjects, and follow my instructions. She walked forward while assigning tasks, and soon, under the leadership of Zhu Wangming, she came to the warehouse, where the experimental subjects were temporarily stored. I'll emphasize it again. She asked Zhu Wangming to release the experimental subjects who were still conscious. If you feel the energy fluctuations later, you must grab that energy as soon as possible. She was afraid that everyone would not understand what she said about spiritual energy and spiritual power, so she simply used the concept of supernatural power to express her meaning. Fortunately, no one here was ridiculously stupid. After she repeated it 2 or 3 times, everyone said that they understood and just waited for her to operate. I won't say more. Now everyone, take your positions. After Zhu Wangming closed the door, Wen Jiu clamped a spirit gathering talisman with her fingers. One after another, the jerky and difficult words were constantly read out of her mouth in a low voice. The next second, everyone saw the lights in the room flickering. However, this state did not last long, and a beam of faint blue fire ignited, as bright as daylight. Zhu Wangming, who thought Wen Jiu was fooling around, couldn't help but widen his eyes. He watched the other party throw the flaming talisman neatly. Normally, this talisman should have fallen to the ground, but he saw it hanging in the air. The deep blue flames like the sea kept jumping, instantly attracting the attention of everyone present. Wen Jiu then threw out several soul-gathering talismans, all of which were burning with magnificent flames, circling around the first soul-gathering talisman. The natural world, all living things. The sun and the moon illuminate, and illuminate me clearly. Every word she recited was firm, and there was also a sense of inexplicable transcendence. In addition, she made a lotus shape with her hands, and then changed it at a very fast speed. The talismans floating in the air changed and jumped with her gestures. With a whoosh, a soul-gathering talisman suddenly flew out, and stopped steadily in the corner of the room. Seeing this, Zhu Wangming felt that his belief in not believing in ghosts and gods was about to be shattered. He had learned some information about Wen Jiu from Yu Rumen before, and he also witnessed with his own eyes that the other party gave the amulet to Lao Chu. But he always believed that ghosts and gods did not exist, and those so-called spells and magic were just bluffs. Maybe in the past, there were still people who would pursue immortality, but now humans have all kinds of high technology, and there are also supernatural powers comparable to magic. There are naturally fewer and fewer people who are willing to believe in ghosts and gods, and he is one of them. He used to hear people joking that everyone is a god now, and the feudal superstition of galaxing is not good. Although he did not agree, he also felt that those ghosts, gods, magic, and sects were feudal superstitions. But now he watched Wen Jiu manipulate the spell, and inexplicably felt a sense of awe. This strange and mysterious picture was more shocking than the supernatural battles he had seen before, especially when Jiu, who was standing next to him casting a spell. His hair was blown by the breeze from nowhere, and it was smart and elegant. There was a faint coldness in those grey blue eyes, just like a fairy like the moon who accidentally strayed into the mortal world. There was no such cute and lively look as usual, nor such a warm and friendly look. Wen Jiu seemed to have noticed his gaze, and suddenly glanced over, which made him panic for no reason. It was like a weak person who wanted to surrender involuntarily when facing a strong person. Don't be in a daze. Hurry up and capture the spiritual energy. Why are you all standing there, like you are watching a show? And you have to pay to watch magic shows, did you know? Wen Jiu broke the aura of authority without anger, as soon as he opened his mouth, and turned from a fairy who had escaped from the secular world to a layman who only loved money. Hearing this, Zhu Wangming finally got out of that weird state. He looked at Wen Jiu who had returned to normal, and couldn't help but feel a little confused. Why did the other party become serious, as if he had changed into a different person? But now was not a good time to discuss it. He took the electronic panel and carefully observed the experimental subjects, as well as Chu Jian who had accidentally turned back into Zhao Hei before. Everyone was lying on the ground in a daze, with the words "I'm confused" written all over their eyes. Only Hukiki sat obediently, and the other party even closed his eyes, as if he was trying to capture the so-called spiritual energy. TSK. It seems to be useless. Wen Jiu no longer made gestures at this time. Alas, it seems that I have to change another way. She simply sat cross-legged on the ground to see if Ukiki could capture the spiritual energy. However, it turned out that there was really no spiritual energy on planet 3047, even if she made a spirit gathering array. In simple terms, it is difficult for a good cook to cook without rice. As time passed, Ukiki also gave up capturing spiritual energy. Oh, there is absolutely nothing. He lay down aggrievedly. Jiu, have you found it? Hearing this, Wen Jiu first extinguished her flame, and then helplessly spread her hands and said, "No, I just tried. There is no spiritual energy at all." After that, as her flame was extinguished, the spiritual power injected into the talisman also dissipated. Today's first update has been successfully delivered. Please check it out, little angels. 030. Whisper. The formula for Jiu Union is made up by the author based on Baidu. Please don't take it seriously. Open bracket closed bracket closed bracket. Chapter 744 The Magical Use of Spiritual Power 1. Because the spiritual power she had injected before had dissipated, the talisman papers turned into dust in the blink of an eye. Seeing this, she suddenly had a flash of inspiration. Wait. How could I forget this? She may not have used her spiritual power for too long, and she forgot that she could pass it on to others. However, she has not experimented in this world yet, and the spiritual power in her body is not particularly abundant. So she can't guarantee whether this method is effective, nor can she guarantee that transferring a little spiritual power will work. Hearing this, Ukiki hurriedly got up and ran to her. How do you know if you don't try it? Come on. Master. Pass on your skills to me. He was not in a hurry to restore those experimental subjects to human form. He just hoped to get Wen Jiu's spiritual power. Because his progress in cultivation was too slow, he was bullied by Stephanie and Kyoshi every day. So he hoped that he could become stronger as soon as possible to let these two girls know how powerful he is. He knew that powerful monsters could pass on their skills to weak monsters to speed up their cultivation, but he didn't know that humans could also pass on their skills, which was why he didn't ask Wen Jiu to pass on his skills before. Now that he knew, he naturally wanted to give it a try. Hearing this, the other party stretched out his hand and patted the open space in front of him. Come on, I'll give you some spiritual power to try first. Ukiki sat down happily when he heard this. If he knew how to sing Today Was a Good Day, he would definitely sing a song here. After he sat down, Wen Jiu raised his hand and gently stroked his back. Soon, he felt a trace of warm energy pouring into his body, heading towards the deep source. So he instantly became excited, because he knew that trace of energy was the spiritual power he had been looking for a long time. But the excitement in his heart did not last long, and the energy that was about to touch the source dissipated. At the same time, his whole fox wilts. Oh. Why is it gone? Why is it gone? Because this is a different price. When Jiu slapped him on the back, you can feel it, which means this method is feasible. Next, let those who really need it experience it. You go to the side and rest first. I will make you a delicious reward when I go back tonight. Hearing this, Ukiki had to stand up reluctantly, and then squatted beside Zhu Wangming with a wronged look. What can he do? He can't beat him, and he can't scold him. He can only hold his anger. Fortunately, Wen Jiu gave him a sweet date, which made his aggrieved mood calm down a little. Brother hey, you go first. The other party waved to Chu Jian. Just let me check your origin again. Hearing this, Chu Jian ran over without any hesitation. Because his supernatural origin was damaged before, it was Wen Jiu who used his spiritual power to help him repair part of it, so he was able to return to his previous supernatural level. However, his supernatural power source has not been fully restored, so he later upgraded to the 7th level of supernatural power, mainly by stimulating the drugs of the research institute. In simple terms, it was cheating, and naturally he could not compare with Liu Yan who upgraded steadily. If he wanted to stabilize the strength of the 7th level supernatural power and continue to develop to a higher level in the future, he must solve the problem of the damage to the supernatural power source. So after Wen Jiu said that, he didn't even ask and walked over directly. But in addition to the above reasons, the most important thing is that he trusts the other party. If someone else comes, he must ask, and also evaluate the other party's ability and reliability in his heart. After he sat down, a soft little hand suddenly covered his head. Alas, I miss it a little after not touching it for a long time. Wen Jiu rubbed it several times with selfishness. Brother hey, you shouldn't mind, right? Chu Jian was quite speechless after hearing this. If he really minded the other party's operation of killing first and asking later, it would be difficult to resist. So he lay on the ground with a cat face and let Wen Jiu touch him. Fortunately, the other party did not go too far and only touched his head for a while before stopping. Huang Nke, you and Xiaohu, and Xiaobei line up together. It will be your turn when I'm done here. Before Wen Jiu began to infuse spiritual power into Chu Jian, he glanced at the experimental subjects huddled in the corner. Perhaps it was because of the psychological trauma and the fact that the experimental subjects other than Huang Nke did not have such complete human consciousness. So the three experimental subjects named Xiaohu, and Xiaobei were huddled in the corner silently to keep warm. Hearing this, Huang Nke quickly barked a few times as a response. After getting his answer, Wen Jiu began to transmit spiritual power to Chu Jian. She closed her eyes and carefully sensed the other party's origin, and then slowly injected the spiritual power she had separated. She first healed Chu Jian's supernatural power origin, and then began to teach him how to use spiritual power in a low voice. Hearing this, Chu Jian only felt that he was in the clouds. Suddenly, there was only a beam of light that kept flashing to guide the direction. So he tried his best to chase the light, but the clouds and fog blocking him became more and more, and he soon could not find the light. This made him irritable, and the clouds and fog around him became thicker and thicker. The Tao is invisible, giving birth to the world. The Tao is ruthless, running the sun and the moon. The Tao is nameless, nourishing all things. Wen Jiu's voice suddenly sounded in his ears, as soft as the breeze blowing across the lake, slowly soothing his restless heart. Soon he felt his emotions calm down, and the light that had disappeared also lit up. Just as Wen Jiu was infusing Chu Jian with spiritual power, Huang Nke was whispering to the experimental subjects. Woof 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 woof. Woof. He tried to lower his voice as much as possible, for fear that he would disturb Wen Jiu. Because Xiaohu and Xiaobei are all in canine form, and people who have done experiments can more or less understand some animal language, so they quickly understood what he meant. Don't be nervous, they shouldn't be bad people. Hearing this, Xiaobei hesitantly hummed, woof woof woof, woof woof woof. Huang, you have suffered so much, but you still don't grow up. Woof 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 woof, woof. Huang Nke raised his claws and scratched the ground unwillingly. This is not a question of growing up or not growing up. If they want to harm us, why do they have to do so many things? Besides, we have come to this point. Do we still have a choice? After his voice fell, the other experimental subjects wanted to refute, but suddenly there was a strange sound. This is the second update of the day. Thank you little angels for your support. If possible, please vote 030. Whispering, the Tao is invisible, giving birth to heaven and earth. This is from the classic of constant purity and tranquility spoken by the Supreme Lord Laojian. Chapter 745. The magical use of spiritual power to He actually turned back. He was the first to react. He looked at Chu Jian, who was as tall and handsome as before, and a feeling of disappointment rose in his heart. Alas, he became the last one again. If Chu Jian had maintained the form of a cat, he could have turned over and become the second to last. What a pity. I don't know if Wen Jiu saw through his thoughts. After resting for a while, the other party turned his head and looked at him and said, if you practice hard, you can be as good as me. Just when he thought that the other party was encouraging him and felt warm in his heart, he heard the second half of the sentence. If you don't have talent, just work hard, you know. After all, geniuses like me are rare. Sure enough, he shouldn't have any expectations of Wen Jiu. Before he could think of a rebuttal, the other party quickly changed the subject and said, Brother Harry, tell Xiao Huang and the others how you turned back into a human just now. Hearing this, Chu Jian shook his head slightly embarrassedly. I may not be able to tell you the specific method, because that feeling is too illusory. He couldn't say for sure how he turned back into a human just now, but he just felt that someone activated his supernatural power. However, Huang Enke and the other experimental subjects looked at him with hope, so he didn't want to say anything to discourage them, so he told them what he had just experienced. Hearing this, Wen Jiu, half lying on the ground, yawned. "It's okay, I have your experience in the past, at least it proves that this method is effective." She didn't think that the problem of the experimental subjects could be solved within a day. As long as she could find an effective method to give these experimental subjects hope, it would be a big step forward. However, the fact that Chu Jian could turn back into a human was really beyond her expectations. That's right, the other person stood by with his hands in his pockets lazily. "Then do you want to continue using this method on them?" Wen Jiu nodded after hearing this. "Of course, since we are here, let's give it a try." In fact, she was a little tired at the moment, but as the saying goes, since we are here, she still wanted to try a few more. On the one hand, it was to allow Huang Enke and other experimental subjects to turn back into humans as soon as possible, so as not to delay their consciousness for a longer time. On the other hand, she wanted to verify a conjecture. If this conjecture is accurate, then her ability can be promoted faster in the future. So when Jiu asked Chu Jian to go to the side to rest first, and then called Huang Enke, who had the strongest desire to survive, and the clearest consciousness among the experimental subjects, she had just asked the other person to sit down in front of her when she heard Zhu Wangming, who was watching and recording, say, "Wen Jiu, I have a question for you." "What?" She looked over with a puzzled look on her face. The other party was hesitant, and after hesitating for a long time, he answered, "Yes, can you tell my fortune later? I remember that in the market of the Star Network world, there are often people who claim to be gods, saying that they can tell fortunes and so on." Hearing this, Wen Jiu smiled slightly. "Of course, I can, but this is a different price. If you are willing to pay star coins, I can tell you." "Why do you still charge star coins when we are one?" Although Zhu Wangming did not believe in the routines of those charlatans, he still knew that they would tell their customers for free first and then charge. After he finished speaking, the other party just snorted. "Isn't it that I'm giving you a talisman for free? Of course, fortune telling has to be a different price. Besides, I don't even need to tell your luck in love to know that it is very bumpy." Hearing this, he was slightly stunned. When he reacted, Wen Jiu had already begun to cast a spell on Huang Enke. Well, in his eyes, those strange things that the other party did could be called casting a spell. So he withdrew his thoughts and carefully recorded the scene in front of him. Although he didn't understand, he could learn. But half an hour passed, and Huang Enke didn't react at all. He didn't feel the kind of ethereal feeling that Chu Jian said, as if he was in the clouds. "You have to empty yourself, and don't be nervous, and don't resist my spiritual invasion." When Jiu finally found him, the little remaining source of supernatural power, I don't know if it's because he has been traumatized and he doesn't trust him very much, so he has been highly vigilant. Even if he knows that he must relax himself at this time, it is difficult for him to control his surging emotions. After another half an hour, when Jiu's forehead was sweating, and his face was a little pale, but Huang Enke still didn't feel anything, and even interrupted a spiritual invasion in the middle. Seeing this, Wen Jiu could only take back her spiritual power and panted, "Forget it, take a rest, and do it tomorrow. If she continues to waste like this, she will really be in trouble." Fortunately, she did not gain nothing today. At least half of her conjecture has been verified. As for the rest, let her proceed slowly. Hearing this, Zhu Wangming also nodded in agreement. "I think it's okay. You've worked hard today. Don't force yourself." "Indeed, and besides, you don't have the obligation to do so." "Forget it." Chu Jian wanted to say that Wen Jiu had no obligation to help those experimental subjects turn back into humans. But he thought that he and the other party were both experimental subjects, and helping Huang Enke and others was equivalent to helping himself. In addition, when he saw Wen Jiu trying hard to find a solution, he suddenly felt reluctant to say that. "Fortunately, we have a feasible method, right? So don't be too sad." The other party was comforting Huang Enke with sweat all over his head. He was so tired that he was almost out of breath, but he was still comforting others in a kind voice. He looked at this picture and didn't know what to say. Zhu Wangming on the side spoke again. Wen Jiu, you just said that my luck in love is very bumpy, is that true? Hearing this, Wen Jiu raised his head and answered, everything in the world is true and false. False and true, can't you fight for it yourself? Why do you have to see the final answer? Besides, although the saying goes that everyone's fate and destiny are destined by heaven, as people grow up and experience various choices, these so-called fate and destiny will change to a certain extent. After hearing this, Zhu Wangming was silent for a long time and then replied, are you too lazy to calculate for me, so you tell me these big truths? They have been together for such a long time, and he can also understand Wen Jiu's temper. The other party just talked about it in a profound and unfathomable way for a long time, and he didn't think it was a serious answer. The next second, Wen Jiu smiled and answered him, well, not entirely. Today's third update was also delivered on time. Thanks again to every little angel for their support and love. Love you 030. Chapter 746 Zhu Wangming's Curiosity 1. Zhu Wangming knew that Wen Jiu was too lazy to start, so he said a lot of words to fool him. But he was still very curious. He remembered that when he went to the market in the Star Network world, those scammers would have a set of fancy procedures and then talk about the customer's fate and destiny. Why did the other party say that he had a bumpy love luck? So he spoke out his doubts and saw Wen Jiu rolled his eyes speechlessly and said, there are many ways to tell fortunes. Okay, I just use the method of looking at my face to tell fortunes. Hearing this, his doubts deepened. You mean you can tell my fate by looking at me? That's about right. It depends on how you understand it. The other party sat on the ground and rested without any image. Since Wen Jiu said so, he started to talk according to his own understanding. If you can really tell my fate just by looking at me, then can't you use this skill to distinguish between good people and bad people? Without waiting for the other party to respond, he said, that's not right. If you really have this skill, why can't you tell Xiaoli and Xiaoza apart? Hearing this, if Wen Jiu wasn't exhausted now, she really wanted to jump up and beat him up. Don't I have anywhere to put my energy? Do I tell fortunes to people every day? And I'm a human, not an automatic fortune telling machine. My eyes are ordinary eyes like yours. Even if I tell fortunes to people, I have to spend energy to analyze them carefully. Even if someone has a black aura on his face that symbolizes death, I have to carefully identify him before I can give a result. Besides, it would be so tiring to tell fortunes to everyone I meet. Doesn't life need all kinds of randomness? If I can predict the outcome of everything and know the fate of everyone, why am I still looking for things now? Her last words really expressed her long buried thoughts. If she had to make a divination before doing anything and calculate the other person's fate before contacting anyone, then she could have ended it now and there would be no need to rush around here. Besides, fortune telling is not omnipotent. Everyone's fate will change in the dark. For people like them who can explore the future of destiny, the most important thing to avoid is blind self-confidence and presumptuous assertions. Otherwise, how can there be a saying that the law of Tao is impermanent and yin and yang are indistinguishable? And it's not that she is unwilling to tell fortunes for Zhu Wangming and Kaioshishi, but mainly because these people are already close to her. If she takes the initiative to spy on their fate, it is very likely to bring backlash to herself or the other party. Instead of taking such a big risk to tell fortunes, it is better to take one step at a time, and the unknown future is more interesting. Wen Jiu was a little excited just now, so after trying to calm down, she changed her tone to explain. It's just that she didn't tell the reason for not telling Zhu Wangming's fortune from beginning to end, but chose part of the reason and expressed it to the other party in an easy to understand way. To put it simply, I can't tell your fate. Let's not mention this matter again in the future. This is for your own good, and for my own good. Hearing this, Zhu Wangming sighed and said, sorry, I didn't think about it that much. I always thought that fortune telling was just a matter of doing it, but I didn't know there were so many things to consider. Before Wen Jiu could answer, he immediately said, "But I still have 2 questions to ask. I wonder if you can answer them." "What questions?" Wen Jiu was still sitting on the ground. After resting for a while, her fatigue was relieved. Let's talk about it outside." Zhu Wangming glanced at the experimental subjects next to her. Seeing this, she immediately understood. So she stood up with her waist straightened, and before taking a step, she didn't forget to wink at Chu Jian and Hukiki. After Zhu Wangming locked up Huang Enke and the other experimental subjects, they walked towards the inside of the laboratory. "Dr. Zhu, what were you just going to ask?" Wen Jiu took a few gulps of the water cup, and her throat was finally moisturized. The main reason was that she had been chanting incantations and guiding Chu Jian and Huang Enke to find their state. In the end, she also argued with Zhu Wangming for a long time, which made her throat extremely hoarse. After the voice fell, Zhu Wangming first took a sip of hot tea and then said, "It's just, is it true that my luck in love is very bumpy?" Wen Jiu was speechless after hearing this. She didn't expect that her words would make the other party so upset. So she forced a smile. "Dr. Zhu, there is a saying that destiny is in your own hands. Do you understand?" "Well." The other party was silent for a few seconds after listening. "Do you mean that hard work pays off?" "That's right." She nodded with satisfaction. "Don't be so feudal and superstitious. You know, as long as you work hard, there will always be a good result." After that, she took out a talisman from the wisdom ring. As her fingertips flew quickly, the flat talisman turned into a small triangle in the blink of an eye. "Here, the amulet I promised to give you. Remember to put it in your pocket at ordinary times. This one won't work if you put it in the wisdom ring." Seeing this, Zhu Wangming didn't know what to say. Because when Jiu advised him not to be feudal and superstitious, and at the same time, gave him this amulet for self-defense, he didn't know whether to believe it or to resolutely resist these spells and ghosts. As the saying goes, who doesn't want free things? So he still accepted the amulet honestly and put it in his pocket according to Wen Jiu's instructions. Chu Jian, who was standing by, saw this scene and poked Wen Jiu's shoulder with his finger. "Where's mine?" He spread his hands confidently, waiting for his own amulet. The next second, the other party slapped his hand. "Yours will be, after you pay back the star coins." The force of this slap was not strong, but it made him feel an inexplicable tingling sensation. But when Jiu quickly withdrew his hand, and only a little warmth remained in his palm. "Okay, then you have to do what you say." He withdrew his hand and silently clenched his fist, as if trying to keep that trace of warmth. The other party was about to retort him when he heard Zhu Wangming say, "Wen Jiu, thank you for your amulet, but I have another question. I don't know if it will offend you. According to the intelligence previously collected by the Burning Flame organization, you have always been alone and made a living by picking up scraps. In this case, who taught you these skills? This is the first update of the day. Thank you to every little angel for your support. 030, Whisper. I would like to emphasize that this novel is purely fictional by the author. You can discuss in a friendly manner, but don't say bad things. Chapter 747 Zhu Wangming's Curiosity 2. Zhu Wangming had such doubts a long time ago, but he was not familiar with Wen Jiu at the time, and asking rashly might cause the other party to be disgusted. In addition, Yu Rumen and Huang Qiumei had no intention of asking, so he hid these doubts deep in his heart. Now that he spends more time with Wen Jiu, he feels that there are many mysteries about him, so he wants to find a suitable opportunity to ask. As the saying goes, it is better to do it today than to choose a day. Since he has opened his eyes today, he might as well take this opportunity to ask. If Wen Jiu is willing to answer, it would be the best, but if the other party is unwilling, it doesn't matter. He only needs to know that Wen Jiu is harmless to Rumen, and he can't care about other things for the time being. But the other party fell into silence after hearing his words, as if he didn't mean to answer him. So Zhu Wangming waited patiently for a while, but he didn't expect Wen Jiu to answer. After all, there were too many mysteries about the other party, and it would be difficult to solve them all in a short time. Time passed bit by bit, and Wen Jiu remained silent. Seeing this, he couldn't help but sigh softly. Just when he was about to say that it didn't matter if he didn't answer, he suddenly heard the other party speak seriously. Actually, I dreamed about it. It's just a dream, you know? One day I dreamed of worshipping a master, and then he taught me a lot of skills. Wen Jiu suddenly started talking nonsense seriously, which made Zhu Wangming and Chu Jiayan stunned. As for Hukiki, she sat quietly on the sofa beside him. He didn't believe that Wen Jiu learned all his skills in a dream, because he firmly believed that the other party must have a fairy master. After all, in the concept of monster like him, all things that are difficult to understand can be explained by fairies. So the more he listened to those words, the happier he felt. It seemed that he finally hugged a reliable thigh. I just don't know when Wen Jiu will open his heart to him and share with him the cultivation tips taught by the fairy master. In this way, he can achieve the right result and be listed in the fairy class as soon as possible, and then he will punch Stephanie and kick Kao Shishi. Just thinking about it makes me happy. Wen Jiu, you, forget it. Zhu Wangming listened carefully to Wen Jiu's story. Subjectively, he believed in the other party's words, but objectively, he always felt that he was fooled. Just looking at Wen Jiu's sincere and honest eyes, he couldn't say anything to question it. Okay, anyway, this is probably the case. Wen Jiu spread his hands helplessly. If you don't believe it, I have nothing else to say. There was no way she couldn't completely open her heart to Zhu Wangming and others now. And she couldn't just say that she was actually from another world and she came here inexplicably. If she really said that, I'm afraid everyone would think she was crazy or she was talking in her sleep. After her voice fell, Zhu Wangming wanted to speak, but Chu Jiayan got there first. Well, I believe you learned it in your dream. There was a faint smile on his lips. So let's talk about business now. I think I found the trick to switch forms. He made his attitude clear as soon as he opened his mouth and chose to change the subject without the intention of breaking the casserole to get to the bottom of it. Such maintenance made Wen Jiu a little surprised, but she didn't have any rebellious psychology, so she followed Chu Jiayan's words. What trick did you find? She said while holding the water cup and sipping it lightly. Do you want Dr. Zhu to bring the electronic panel over so that you can write one? Hearing this, Chu Jiayan smiled and shook his head. No need for that. There's nothing to record. Then he told his trick, but he couldn't guarantee that it would really work. After he finished speaking, Zhu Wangming spoke. If it is really as you said, if we find the source of superpowers and activate them, and at the same time drive our own consciousness to burst out, we can return to human form. Then Huang Enke and the others can turn back to human immediately? TSK. No, their superpowers are almost dissipated, and the remaining human consciousness of the experimental subjects, except Huang Enke, is not that strong. Zhu Wangming couldn't help but sigh at this point. It seems that, if we want to turn them back to human, we still have to spend some more effort. Hearing this, Wen Jiu shrugged lightly. Yeah, I didn't expect them to turn back to human immediately. Dr. Zhu, don't be discouraged. Now there is hope and a way. They will definitely be able to turn back. After she finished speaking, she looked up at the clock on the wall and realized that it was already 8 o'clock in the evening. So after discussing with Zhu Wangming for a while, she took Chu Jiayan and Hukiki home. On the way back, she also received a message from Zhu Wangming. The other party asked her to stay at home and have a good rest tomorrow and not to come to the laboratory to help. In addition, Zhu Wangming also said that he had asked Hang Xiaohang and others to come tomorrow, and while analyzing the test results, he would let Huang Enke and others try it. Maybe they could turn back into humans tomorrow. It doesn't matter if Huang Enke and the experimental subjects can't turn back. After they and Hang Xiaohang and others analyze the test results, they will report directly to the top leaders of the Burning Flame organization. The top leaders will then arrange some personnel to send the results to the Federation headquarters in Star as soon as possible, and they don't have to worry about the rest. Eat fish slowly. This is a mess caused by the 3rd military region and the 5th military region. We can't just let us clean up all the messes, right? Eat fish slowly. Don't you value the return of your efforts the most? Do you want to help people clean up for free? So listen to me. Don't worry so much. I will take care of the rest. eat fish slowly, and the Federation headquarters is not a freeloader. It has to solve problems for the citizens of the Federation. If there is any progress in this matter, I will contact you again. You should have a good rest and spend more time with your mother these days. It must be said that Zhu Wanming's words are very reasonable. The more Wen Jiu read these messages, the better her mood became, because she was not a good person to begin with, and she had done her utmost to do this. Besides, with the federal headquarters, she was just an ordinary citizen, and some things could be left alone. Moreover, she had asked all the questions she should ask with Huang Enke and other experimental subjects, and had obtained the information she should inquire about, so there was really no need to continue wasting time. Jiu Yaochen Wangun. Thank you, Dr. Zhu, for thinking about me. Your peach blossom luck must be prosperous. Jiu Yaochen Wangun. By the way, I will arrange for someone to come and send some food to Huang Enke and others tomorrow, so you don't have to feed them dog food and cat food all the time. After replying the message, the floating bus also arrived at the station. Wen Jiu got off the bus with one man and one fox, humming a little tune as they walked towards Donghu Garden. This is the second update today. Thank you little angels for your support. 030. Chapter 748 Jiu Dessert Shop 1. How is it? My aesthetic taste is still good, right? Ziziu raised her chin with a proud look on her face, like a male peacock spreading its tail. Hearing this, Wen Jiu looked at the decoration of the store and said, "It looks good, much better than I expected." The champagne-colored roses that were delivered this morning were placed on the transparent dessert display cabinet that was wiped clean and translucent. They were in full bloom and competed to show their beauty, and there was a faint rose fragrance lingering. On the wallpaper, spliced with beige and bean paste green, there were beautiful landscape paintings hanging one after another, giving people a fresh, natural, quiet, and comfortable atmosphere. The white tables and chairs in the hall were neatly arranged, and the round tabletops were covered with light pink or light purple tablecloths. When the warm yellow light fell, it could also shine a little sparkle, just like flowers blooming in the forest and mountains. In general, she was still very satisfied. Alas, it seems that this young master's vision is as good as ever. Ziziu especially enjoyed her compliments. I heard King Gaiu say the day before yesterday that you were going to open a dessert shop, so I asked the workers to come and modify the decoration overnight. Fortunately, they were fast enough and finished the modification last night. Otherwise, you would not be able to see anything if you came today. The main reason is that the original decoration style of the store is very close to the current one, so the workers were able to complete Ziziu's requirements in just 2 days. Hearing this, Wen Jiu couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. Oh. So you let King Gaiu move into 903 in advance to make it easier for him to gather intelligence from me and be your little undercover? TSK, how can you say he is an undercover agent gathering intelligence? Ziziu still maintained a confident smile. My brother is devoting himself to my career. Although he did have the idea of asking King Gaiu to urge Wen Jiu to open the store as soon as possible and hope that the other party could pass on some intelligence to him, he would never admit it. Really? Wen Jiu turned around and looked at Chu Jian when he heard this. What about this guy? Seeing this, the smile on Ziziu's face froze instantly. He was taking advantage of the situation to rob. TSK, who wants to rob you? Chu Jian stood lazily, his eyebrows and eyes full of fatigue. Little master, when can you let me go home and rest? He was dragged to Donghu Mall by Wen Jiu early in the morning to meet Ziziu. Now he was so sleepy that he wanted to lie on the ground and take a nap. Hearing this, Wen Jiu spread his hands helplessly. Let's talk about it later. Everyone else has something to do today, so I can only drag you here. After she went home last night, she told her what happened in the laboratory, which aroused King Gaiu's strong curiosity on the spot, so the other party volunteered to take on the task of delivering food. Kyoshi and Stephanie thought that she was going to open a store, so they took the initiative to help her buy ingredients and tableaux. Although most of the items were ordered at the Stonet supermarket, it still couldn't stop the enthusiasm of the two girls who like shopping. After a while, only Chu Jian and Hukiki were left. But the problem is that Ukiki likes to take care of flowers and plants, and the other party claims that she won't go out until she finishes taking care of them. So after tossing and turning, she could only catch Chujayan. Of course, she didn't do it for anything else, just to have someone to accompany her to get up early. Hearing this, Ziziu felt a little sour in her heart. Zio Wen Jiu, you have to bring someone to see me. How worried are you about me? When he said this, he was still trying his best to maintain his confidence, but he didn't know that a faint sadness had already appeared on his face. Seeing this, Wen Jiu couldn't help but twitch his mouth for a moment. I just simply don't want to get up early alone, and if I really have to say that I'm worried, I don't trust either of you. Thank you. Before Chujayan and Ziziu could refute, she looked at the workbench for making desserts and drinks. Your decoration is quite professional, with all kinds of kitchen utensils and equipment. After she finished speaking, Ziziu quickly replied, of course, I specifically referred to the decoration of Fanhua Pavilion and several dessert shops. If the time you gave was not too tight, I could also take you to several high-end planets to find a few dessert shops with good reputations for inspection. Hearing this, Wen Jiu fiddled with the machine and said, you are in a hurry for me to open a store to save customer flow, so I can only hurry up. It doesn't matter, there will always be a chance to go to a high-end planet in the future, and then I can compare whether the desserts on the high-end planets are delicious or the desserts I make are delicious. She had long changed her impression that the interstellar era was full of dark cuisine. The main reason was that the information she was exposed to was too one-sided, which led to such a misunderstanding. Although the food here is not all dark cuisine, it is true that the interstellar era lacks various delicacies. I hope she can go to more planets in her lifetime to feel the differences between each planet. As the saying goes, learning never ends. She will not be proud just because she can cook many ancient blue star delicacies. When Wen Jiu thought of this, he discussed various matters of the store with Ziziu. I heard from Zikingayu that the customer flow of Danhu Mall is decreasing. Is it true? And what age group are the customers who usually come to the mall? Hearing this, Ziziu clicked on the light screen panel and forwarded the report prepared by his assistant in advance to Wen Jiu. Then he spoke out his thoughts again. I know I shouldn't interfere with your store, so I just made a small suggestion. With your cooking skills, you should set the price a little higher. To be honest, the price you set for your store in Danhu scenic area was a bit low. Wen Jiu listened to him while browsing the report. After a long while, the other party nodded and said, what a coincidence, I thought so too. This time I plan to focus on the mid to high-end market, which just fits your new planning and positioning for the mall. This can be regarded as a coincidence between the two of us. Apart from anything else, Ziziu is really a good match for Wen Jiu in terms of doing business. She felt it when she opened a store in the East Lake scenic area before. In fact, most of the residents and tourists in the East Lake district are well off or even middle class. For these people, the price of Wen Jiu restaurant is very low, so many customers eat a few portions by themselves and take a few portions away after eating. There are even some customers who like Wen Jiu restaurant so much that they come to the East Lake scenic area every day just to eat the food of Wen Jiu restaurant. So this time Wen Jiu made up his mind to set the price of the dessert shop higher. On the one hand, it is because the customer group has sufficient funds, and on the other hand, the raw materials for making desserts and beverages are more expensive than the ingredients for opening a small restaurant. Today's third update has also been delivered. Thanks again to the little angels for their support. 030. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 749, Jiu Jiu Dessert Shop 2. In addition to the above two reasons, there is another point, that is, Wen Jiu wants to make the dessert shop a chain. Her small goal is to open branches on all 47 planets, and the big goal is to strive to open one or more of her dessert shops on each planet. so she plans to start with a small goal and capture the mid to high-end market of 3047 planets. After this small goal is completed, she will move towards other low-level planets. I didn't expect that you have such a long-term plan. It seems that I don't need to persuade you anymore. After listening to Wen Jiu's plan for the dessert shop, Ziziu couldn't help but smile and expressed his full agreement. He always felt that it was a pity for the other party to open only a small restaurant with his cooking skills. Although he always liked to joke that he would let Wen Jiu be his private chef. But if the other party really agreed, he would definitely open a high-end restaurant without saying a word. Then let Wen Jiu go there as the head chef to help him make a lot of money. Fortunately, the other party was not as pure as he imagined. Otherwise he would really sigh for this cooking skill every day. There was no way. Who made him a person who cherishes talent? What are you advising me? Wen Jiu asked while debugging the machine. Are you advising me to be your private chef? Hearing this, Ziziu hurriedly shook his head. I just gave you a suggestion at the beginning. If you really agree, I will not agree. Oh. Does it mean that I'm not worthy of being your private chef? The other party showed him an ambiguous smile. Seeing this, he immediately felt that he regretted saying that. No, why do you like to misinterpret my meaning all day long? When Jiu saw that he was so anxious that he jumped up and down, so he smiled and changed the subject. By the way, I still have to think of a name for the restaurant. Do you have any good suggestions? Chu Jian, who was observing the decoration, turned around and replied, first of all, I think we can't use the name Wen Jiu Dessert Shop. It's too rustic. That is to say, he was not there when Wen Jiu decided to open the restaurant. Otherwise he would definitely stand up to stop the other party from using this name. Hearing this, Wen Jiu couldn't help but snorted. Wen Jiu restaurant is so nice. It's convenient and easy to remember. You don't understand, don't you know? Although she would not use Wen Jiu to name the restaurant this time, she would never tolerate Chu Jian mocking her taste. When she opened the restaurant, she positioned it as a people-friendly route with good quality and low price, so she naturally had to choose a simple and memorable name as the name of the store. It's okay that the two children, Zikingai and Kaioshishi, don't understand the inside story, but why does Chu Jian, the older child, also dislike her? Yes. The other party nodded perfunctorily. I don't understand seeing this. When Jiu just turned his head away angrily, pretending that he couldn't see the person in front of him. Anyway, I will definitely choose a resounding name this time. Just wait and see. Seeing her angry face puffed up, Ziziu couldn't help but chuckled and said, okay then what name do you plan to choose? Do you still need my advice? You give me a suggestion first. She snorted sullenly. I want to see what nice store names you can come up with. After her voice fell, Ziziu and Chu Jian looked at each other, and then they both spoke at the same time. Mengsu. Yinbing. When Jiu couldn't help but sneer after hearing this. If I hadn't known that Zikingai was your brother, I would have doubted your relationship with Chu Jian. Although the names of the two people were vulgar and elegant, they sounded like the same type of store names to her. It's I since no. She runs a dessert store, not a cold drink store. Although the store sells some shaved ice cream, cold drinks, etc. She also sells egg tarts, cakes, soufflés, hot drinks and other foods. If she adopts their opinions, it may cause misunderstandings among the customers. Thinking of this, Wen Jiu said proudly, alas, it seems that I have to do it. You two stay aside. Hearing this, Ziziu couldn't help but ask curiously, I think the names that Chu Jian and I came up with are all good. Why are you still not satisfied? Do you have any better store names to use? Yes. I'm a little genius. She put her hands on her hips with a proud look. Seeing this, Chu Jian on the side raised his eyebrows and asked, then tell me, what is the name of the store you want? However, after he finished speaking, Wen Jiu did not answer. The other party first took out a pen and paper from the wisdom ring, and then wrote on it. Ziziu liked the free and elegant handwriting, which made him read the words written by Wen Jiu involuntarily. Teoiao. Then he added, "Wen Jiu, since you have already taken out the paper and pen, why don't you write me a calligraphy and I will hang it in my office later. If you like my calligraphy, I will write another one after I go home and let Zikingayu bring it to you then." Wen Jiu considered that Zizio had given her such a big discount on the store rent, and the other party also helped her decorate the store and buy various necessities for free. Considering these favors, giving her a calligraphy is nothing. Hearing this, Zizio smiled and said, okay, then write me a calligraphy to attract wealth and treasure, you know. He is a businessman, so he likes these. Seeing that the two of them were busy discussing calligraphy and painting, Chu Jian had to take the initiative to speak. "Hey, are you sure you want to use the two words Taoiao as a store name? Doesn't it sound good?" Wen Jiu immediately came back to his senses. "Or do you think it's hard to remember?" She personally still likes this store name very much, and she thought about it for a long time before she came up with it. Well, actually it's not bad. Seeing her face full of expectation for praise, Chu Jian's mouth corners slightly raised. At least it sounds much better than Wen Jiu restaurant. After saying that, Wen Jiu felt that she shouldn't have any expectations. Let the other party comment, but she also has to criticize Wen Jiu restaurant. So she silently took note in her heart, thinking of finding an appropriate time to return the favor. "Hey, I think the name Taoiao is pretty good. Why not use it as the name of the store?" I don't know if it's because Zizio is about to receive the calligraphy and painting, but he has no objection to the store name selected by Wen Jiu. Hearing this, Wen Jiu immediately gave him a thumbs up. "You still have good taste." So the name Taoiao won by 2 votes and was positioned as the name of Wen Jiu's dessert shop. Of course, the main reason is that she is the owner of the dessert shop, so no one can suggest changing the name. Now that we've chosen a name, we can move on to the next step. She poked and prodded at the light screen panel, browsing the shops that could make custom signs, while patiently waiting for Zizio's answer. "Today's first update has been delivered. Please check it out, little angels." 030. Chapter 750 Jiu Dessert Shop 3. In fact, I totally disagree with you hiring real people as employees, because if you hire real people, you must teach them the recipes for making food. Even if there is something like a confidentiality agreement, you can't guarantee that they can stick to their promises under great temptation. When Zizio heard that Wen Jiu was going to hire real people as employees, he immediately cast his vote against it. If the other party was running a company or other store, it would not be a problem to hire real people as employees. But Wen Jiu is now going to open a dessert shop. In this era of lack of recipes and food, which food store is not hidden, for fear that their precious recipes will be secretly learned by outsiders. Even those chefs working in restaurants keep their recipes hidden tightly, and few people will pass on the recipes. So Zizio firmly opposed hiring real people, and he didn't want Wen Jiu to be a dowry for others. "Don't worry, I don't plan to hire a real person." Wen Jiu saw his anxious look and quickly explained, "I just want to ask you which robot is good. My dessert shop plans to hire 3 employees, 1 responsible for making desserts and drinks, 1 responsible for cleaning the store, and 1 for daily chores." Hearing this, he breathed a sigh of relief. That's good. If you want to buy a robot, I can recommend it to you. Like Benu, Delia and Lake, these 3 brands are very reliable. But are you sure you want to buy a robot as an employee? Is your budget enough? Wen Jiu frowned when she heard this. She only knew that the price of robots was very expensive, but she had never seen how expensive the actual price was, because she had never thought about buying a robot before. After all, she came from the modern world and lived in the mountains and forests all year round. She insisted on doing everything by herself. So after she came to the interstellar world, she only came into contact with the mini robots used for live broadcasts, the cheap robots that could be rented in the cafeteria, and the cleaning robot given to her by Zikingayu. Oh, delivery robots count too. But these robots are of the lowest level, with ordinary appearance and no special functions, which is totally inconsistent with her imagination of high-tech products. Seeing that she was full of entanglement, Zizio was afraid that she would not buy the robot in order to save star coins. So he took the initiative to say, how about this? I will pay half of the star coins for you to buy the robot, and it will be considered as my investment in Teo. When you officially open the store, give me a few large coupons, or a few membership cards with deposits. Anyway, you must buy robots, and not real people. Hearing this, Wen Jiu immediately relaxed his eyebrows and said, really? You are so generous. I just don't want you to be a stepping stone for others. If your Teo can really open all over the galaxy, then I will be an investor with a discerning eye. He saw the other party's eyes shining, and he couldn't help but look away awkwardly. With Ziziu's investment, Wen Jiu's little heart immediately stopped hurting. She quickly searched for the 3 brands mentioned by the other party in the Star Network supermarket, and then carefully browsed the robots that the brand was selling. What is a bionic man? She curiously checked the Bionic Man newly launched by Binu. There was a brief introduction about the Bionic Man, which basically said that this was a new product developed by the Binu Group, a robot made for the purpose of imitating real people. Hearing this, Ziziu replied disapprovingly, it is a simulation robot, with the same appearance as humans and high intelligence. But this is no longer a novelty. The Delia Group focuses on the research of bionic men. After saying that, he moved closer to Wen Jiu and browsed together. The new bionic man launched by the Binu Group is okay, but it's a pity that they still haven't developed emotional simulation. But it's normal. It's Delia's patented technology to let bionic men have human emotions. If you are interested, you can go to the intermediate planet to experience it in the future. Hearing this, Wen Jiu's face became more curious. Can I also experience bionic men? How do I experience it? Just interact with them and play games. He talked helplessly. For example, the Delia Group's main products are various object-type bionic men. You can go to their experience park and interact with those bionic men. As soon as he finished speaking, Chu Jian, who had been silent, suddenly spoke. That is, you can customize the type you like and be friends or lovers with the bionic men. But I don't think there should be a demand for this. So if you want to experience it, you'd better go to Rick's Experience Park. There are many combat-type bionic men there, and you can have various battles with you. Wen Jiu didn't expect Chu Jian to know this, so she asked curiously for a long time. She had also read some news about bionic people in modern times, but she had never come into contact with a real bionic person. Moreover, the bionic technology of modern times is far inferior to that of the interstellar era. Even if she wanted to understand it, she had no way to get in touch with it. Unexpectedly, the bionic technology of the interstellar era is so advanced that it can be sold as ordinary commodities. Wen Jiu glanced at the price when he scrolled down and couldn't help but sighed. It only costs 3.8 million star coins to buy a bionic person. Hey, how many star coins have you saved in your little treasury? How can you say that it's only 3.8 million? Chu Jian curled her lips when she heard her words. Little master, I didn't expect you to be a rich woman. After he finished speaking, Ziziu said calmly, this price is considered cheap. Binu has always been close to the people. You know, Rick and Delia next door. Any bionic person has a base price of 5 million star coins. Okay, here's a man with no family background, no savings, and still owes a lot of star coins, so he is not qualified to speak. Bionics should be smarter than ordinary robots, right? Wen Jiu stared at the light screen panel with shining eyes. It introduced the functions and information of this bionic man, and the more she looked at it, the more satisfied she was. It's hard to say. The score is, Ziziu was also checking on the side. A bionic man like this is obviously for home use, but there are many ordinary robots that can do housework. If they really compare, the bionic man may not win. Hearing this, Wen Jiu nodded obediently. In an instant, she had an idea and asked, Z, how about this? You buy me a bionic robot as an investment, and I will give you shares? Today's second update is also delivered. Thank you all little angels for your support and love. 030. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.